Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Zoning. And will this hearing please come to order? For all of us and to the audience who are there and the administration who are here also, Happy New Year and the Year of the Dragon. At this time, I would like to welcome members Cordero, Kiaina, and Tupola, and I believe Councilmember Wire will be coming in later. Committee Vice Chair Dos Santos Tam is excused for a portion of the meeting and will be joining us soon. And so I can move on now to state what the requirements are today. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular in person meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under HRS Section 92 3.7, which is HRS for the general public and the audience is the Hawaii Revised Statute, which is a state law. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways: remotely and in person in the council chamber. Oral testimony will be allowed when each agenda item is taken up in the following order. One is in remote testimony, and two, in person testimony in the council chamber. Before testifying, each person shall state their full name and the agenda item they are testifying on. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1 minute presentation per item. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or by phone will be called upon first. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. The following are some friendly reminders and tips. Video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are watching the proceeding on Honolulu, please mute your device at the time you're called to testify. When the timer on screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number, and when your number is called, please press *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, I will proceed to an in-person testimony in the council chamber. Persons who may not have registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. And finally, written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all your cell phones. And for those who will be providing oral testimony on Bills 52 and 53 of 2023, please note that your testimony will be limited to comments on the extension of time only. We will not be addressing the substance of these measures, but all we're trying to do is to extend the discussion on these Bills 52 and 53 as an extension of time only. Before I proceed, may I introduce Councilmember Wire, who is here also. So at this time, members, let's move on to taking up agenda items number 1 and 2 together, and each item will be for an extension of time only. Let me start off by describing item 1, which is Bill 52 of 2023. This bill provides for a more effective deterrent by increasing the penalty amount for developers that violate the standards and requirements for large detached dwellings by supplying incorrect information on building permits or by converting dwellings to accommodate multifamily uses during construction or post-construction. Members, for your information, a written request for a 120-day extension of time from the Department of Planning and Permitting is available online as Departmental Communication 7 of 2024. Item number 2, Bill 53 of 2023. This bill addresses standards and requirements for bed and breakfast homes and transient vacation units. Members, for your information in the public, a written request for a 120-day extension of time from the Department of Planning and Permitting is available online as Departmental Communication number 8 of 2024. At this point in time, I'm very happy to have our Director of the Department of Planning and Permitting, Ms. Dawn Takeuchi Apuna, to say a few words in regards to the extension of both Bill 22 and 52 and 53. Director Apuna.
Aloha, Chair Say, members of the committee, Happy New Year. For these two items, we are very supportive of the extension to allow the committee and the council to fully consider both measures. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for the director at this point in time? Okay, let's move on to remote testimony. We'll now proceed with remote testimony on bills 52 and 53. Madam Clerk, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone else standing by remotely to testify? And if there is no one, there is none, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on for the in-person testimony. We'll now proceed with the in-person testimony. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. So there is no in-person testifiers here. So at this time, members, we are in discussion for bills 52 and 53, requesting an extension by the committee to work out the language in the next go-around. Okay. Oh, yep. Let me introduce Chair of the City Council of Honolulu, Chair Tommy Waters, who was also nominated yesterday, council members, and Vice Chair Kiaina. They were nominated as the treasurer and alternate for HSAC. Our city and county monies are in good hands with you, sir. Thank you. Okay. At this time, the chair notes that the time needed to consider bills 52 of 2023 may exceed the current deadline for council action. The chair therefore recommends that bill be granted a 120-day extension of time pursuant to the request from the Department of Planning and Permitting in the Departmental Communication 7 of 2024. Members, are there any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you very much. Moving on to the chair recommends that chair notes that the time needed to consider Bill 53 of 2023 may exceed the current deadline for council action. The chair therefore recommends that the bill be granted a 120-day extension of time pursuant to the request from the Department of Planning and Permitting in Departmental Communication number 8 of 2024. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Members, let's move on to agenda item number 3, Resolution 23-285. This resolution confirms the reappointment of Christopher T. Hong to serve on the Building Board of Appeals of the City and County of Honolulu for a term to expire on December 31st of 2028. Members, we have posted to the agenda a proposed Committee Draft 1 version of the resolution, and for your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda addendum. So here, speaking first on behalf of Resolution 23-285, I'd like to call upon the appointee, Mr. Christopher T. Hong of the Building Board of Appeals. Good morning, Mr. Hong.
Good morning, Chair. Happy New Year, Council.
Any questions for the appointee as a reappointment? It seems like they don't have any questions for you, Mr. Hong. I think you're doing an excellent job. So the administration does support your nomination for the position. And if there are no questions, that's it. Thank you for your presence here.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council.
Okay. Next, we have the Director of the Department of Planning and Permitting.
Thank you, Chair. We're very supportive of this reappointment. He's done a great job. There's been a huge influx of appeals in the last couple years, and he's managed to these dockets very well. We are trying to make it easier for him too and provide more resources, but he's done a very great job, so we're very supportive of this reappointment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any questions for the director? Starting off the year of 2024, I've always remembered Vice Chair Kiana's concerns about fairness and equity on boards and commissions. This one is all men this time around, right, Esther? Oh,
Thank you. I was just
Kiana.
having that discussion. Director, you know, I know sometimes because of levels of expertise, perhaps it's very difficult, but I just wanted to note that, and I am just hoping that for future vacancies, because I think the two are, you know, very able. But I would, similar to the terrific work you guys done for the Planning Commission, where we actually have a 5 wahine, and for men, I'm quite certain that you can find qualified women for this, the board as well. So just in the future, if you guys could endeavor to do that, and maybe reach out to some of the women on the Planning Commission who have a network as well that could help you. So thank you so much.
Chair Waters, please.
Thank you. Just to follow up, Director, do you have any say in the appointment process, or is that strictly coming from the mayor's office?
It's generally from the mayor's office, but if we do have some recommendations, we provide it to the mayor's office.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for the director? If there is none, thank you very much already. Once more, Director Apuna. We'll now proceed with remote testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to the in-person testimony. Do we have any in-person testifiers, Madam Clerk?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, members, at this point in time, there are no further testifiers. We are now in discussion. So at this time, the chair would like to recommend that Resolution 23-285 be amended to the posted Committee Draft 1 for Mr. Chris Hong being appointed. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a Committee Draft 1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 23-285, Committee Draft 1, be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Congratulations, Mr. Hong, once more, and keep up the great work. Can you also try to address the backlog that we do have? Yeah, keep it up to par. Thank you. Moving on to agenda number 3, item number 3, Resolution 23-286. This resolution confirms the reappointment of Mr. Kani Kawaiola Lindsay to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals of the City and County of Honolulu for a term to expire on June 30th of 2028. Is Mr. Lindsay here? Okay. If he's not here, may we move on at this point in time for the appointee? We're going to call upon the director, the Department of Planning and Permitting, Director Apuna.
Thank you, Chair. We're supportive of Mr. Lindsay's reappointment as well. He's done great work at the Zoning Board of Appeals. So yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for the director? So everyone knows that Mr. Lindsay, his nickname is Max, so yeah, he's being reappointed to the board. So the chair at this time would like to proceed with remote testimony. Madam Clerk, are there any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, let's proceed to in-person testimony. We'll now proceed with the in-person testimony. Do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Great. Thank you. Members, we are now in discussion. If there is no okay, Councilmember Wire.
I just wanted to comment. I know Mr. Lindsay's not here today, but I know he's been thoroughly engaged at this council and has a great background, and so really appreciate his service.
Okay, great. Okay. If there is no further discussion at this time, the chair would like to recommend that Resolution 23-286 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay. Mr. Lindsay, I think we all want to compliment you and say thank you very much for your support, even though you're maybe not here presently in physical body, but you're out there somewhere, and I hope you're listening to this committee at this point in strong support of your nomination. Okay, let's move on, members, to agenda number 5. Everyone has agenda number 5, and this is resolution 24-9. And this resolution authorized exemptions for certain requirements pursuant to the Hawaii Revised Statute, or HRS Chapter 201H-38, relating to a proposal by High Ridge Coastal Development Company, LLC, for the development of Paoa Ridge, a high-rise project on an approximately 0.47 acres of land zoned A2, medium-density apartment district located at 2779 Wailea Avenue in Honolulu and identified as tax map key 1, 2-7-028:025. Members, we have listed on the agenda an addendum to a proposed committee draft 1 version of the resolution. For your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda addendum. Members, the committee draft 1 incorporates conditions of approval to mitigate project impacts. Notably, the committee draft 1 includes the conditions to address the public and government agency concerns about the project's height, project affordability, and the traffic impact and safety measures. Regarding the project height for the applicant has offered, once more, the applicant has offered to reduce the scale of the project by decreasing the building height from its original 251 feet, 28-story tower to 210 feet of a 23-story tower. The modified project will have 181 dwelling units instead of the initially 211 dwelling units. Okay, excuse me. Yeah, the modified project will have 182. I stand corrected. Okay, instead of the initially 211 dwelling units. Regarding project affordability, under the committee draft 1, the council would approve development of the modified project as rental housing under scenarios 1 and 2 only, and will not approve the for sale option under scenario 3. Under scenario 1, except for the 2 managers' units, all affordable units would be rented to households earning 60% and below of the AMI. Under scenario number 2, except for the 2 managers' unit once more, all affordable units would be rented to households earning 80 to 100% of the AMI. In scenario 3, which is the original draft, involves a for sale project with 60% of the total units sold to households earning 140 or below of the average median income and 40% of the total units sold at market rate. Scenario 3 also involves a different type of project, and if the applicant is not able to obtain a financing award under scenarios 1 and 2, the applicant may submit a new 2-1H application for the scenario 3 project based on the housing needs, the financing needs, and the economic situation at that time. The committee draft 1 also imposes conditions of approval to address traffic impacts of the modified project and implement safety measures by requiring the applicant to design and construct the following improvements. Physical measures or barriers, which are vertical delineators to prevent vehicles from entering the H1 West on-ramp from the modified project's exit driveway. 2, ensure adequate sight distance from the modified project's separate ingress and egress driveways to the westbound blind bend along Wailea Avenue. 3, reduce the size of the existing triangular concrete island along Kaleli Road to accommodate vehicles turns from Kaleli Road onto Wailea Avenue. 4, add a bulb out. Add a bulb out on the opposite west curb from the concrete island along Kalele Road at the adjacent crosswalk near to the H1 West on-ramp to maintain the existing crossing distance for pedestrians. 5, install 2 speed bumps along Wailea Avenue to the east of the modified project site, Kalele Road and the H1 West on-ramp. And 6, to ensure that all modified project driveways or improvements are designed to minimize the number and size of potential conflict areas between bicyclists and turning vehicles. All modifications to the project and the conditions of the approval imposed are intended to mitigate impacts of the modified project. Address once more public and government agency concerns, and move forward with the best project possible and provide urgently needed affordable rental housing in urban Honolulu. Members, at this time, I would also like to propose three verbal amendments to the committee draft 1 version of the resolution listed on the agenda addendum. The 3 verbal amendments set forth in the document has been distributed to all of you, and I will briefly explain each of the amendments. 1, we amend, if you look at the addendum, the 14th whereas clause, which describes the number of affordable and market rate for sale units at each AMI level if the modified project is developed under modified scenario 3 to correct the number of affordable units offered for sale to households earning 140% or below of the AMI to 42 units instead of 41. 2, amends the 16th whereas clause, which provides that the council is approving exemptions and deferrals for the modified project under modified scenario 1 or modified scenario 2 only to describe how the applicant is required to pursue financing and development of the modified project. And 3, we amend condition A to set forth that the applicant is required to pursue financing and development of the modified project under modified scenario 1 and 2. Under condition A, the applicant is allowed to apply for financing under modified scenario 1 and modified scenario 2 within the same calendar year for multiple calendar years as necessary, so long as the financing and development of the modified project under modified scenario 1 is a priority. Scenario number 1 is the priority. Development of the modified project depends on the first financing award that is granted by the state agency, which is the Hawaii Finance Development Corporation. Joining us in the council chamber, we have Mo Mohana from applicant High Ridge Costa to give a brief presentation of the project. And for your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 15 of 2024. Mr. Mohana, please. Good morning and happy.
Hello and good morning. Mo Mohana, President High Ridge Costa. Good to see you all this morning. Mr. Chair, thank you for the modifications you read. We're in agreement with the modifications as read into the record and as presented, so thank you very much for the consideration. Pahoa Ridge Apartments is a affordable and missing middle housing community, rental community, as described earlier. We will be developed by High Ridge Costa along with our partners, former partner Chris Duker. We will present to you today our team. We'll show you an outline of what we are doing in Hawaii, talk about our project, who the residents are, process and mitigations. Next slide, please. High Ridge Costa Development, we've been before you, so I won't go into too much detail, but always available to answer any questions, is an affordable housing developer that is focused on developing rental affordable housing long-term, typically 60-plus years, restricted by the state, rents published by the state, to serve residents of Hawaii. Next slide, please. Forum Partners is our local development partner with extensive experience in Honolulu for over 30 years. Mr. Duker really brings the discipline of market rate and commercial development to the affordable housing that focuses on cost efficiency and quality. AHEAD Foundation, Mr. Scott Settle, the Chair of Affordable Housing and Economic Development, is our nonprofit partner, and we've completed a number of communities with AHEAD Foundation. They work with us in providing community support and identifying programs that are specific to the needs of the residents of affordable housing communities. Our commitment to Hawaii, when we talk about affordable housing and the alternatives of affordable housing, High Ridge Costa Development today is working on close to 3,000 affordable housing units. All of them, with the exception of Pohukaina Commons in Kaka'ako, serve 60% area medium income and below Kapuna and Ohana. The one missing middle that this esteemed council approved last year is the 80 to 100% in Pohukaina Commons. The need and demand does not need to be described. You are very well aware of it and the need there. The challenge is in the financing options. This council has approved for High Ridge Costa last year, without adding the numbers for Pahoa Ridge, 923 affordable housing units, all at 60%, excluding the 80 to 100%. All 723 have applied for financing at the state of Hawaii and to HHFDC. What has happened at that agency is that the program is oversubscribed. For every 4 applications, 1 receives an allocation. In working with HHFDC, they have asked us to evaluate alternative options to serve the various income segments within Hawaii that are needed. That includes the 80 to 100%, as well as the affordable. The options presented to you today as a result of trying to find alternatives as requested by various state agencies and various residents to address the wide needs for affordable housing, whether rental at 60%, whether rental at 80 to 100%, or affordable for sale. All are desperately needed. And that's High Ridge Costa's and Forum Partners' commitment, is to provide housing, but also provide financing options. So when asked, where are you with what's been approved, there is some form of answer. There are some form of alternatives. Alternatives are limited. And if we keep focusing on one avenue, the reality is it just becomes a long queue, and then we wonder where the projects are. This does not include, as you also know, High Ridge Costa's partnership with the HPHA Housing Authority, which will bring thousands additional units affordable housing in addition to what High Ridge Costa is doing privately. I highlight that to start understanding the incredible backlog that exists and the incredible backlog that will grow if we only focus on one financing alternative. Next slide, please. Many studies have been presented. The 50,000 new homes by 2025 is needed. I would say we were nowhere close to that target by next year. 50% of families owning 80% of the median income cannot even afford to buy a condo. An 80% area median income family paying market rate rent today would take 23.5 years to save for a down payment. So there's the need not only for affordable rental, but that the resident is not chasing the rent as their income increasing, but there is also the need for affordable for sale. So the amount of down payment, the amount of time needed, again, is not so long, but really unachievable. I'll have my partner, Chris Duker, share with you the details for the project, and we're both available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohana. Mr. Duker?
Aloha Kako, Council. Chair Say, thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you today. So our project, Pahoa Ridge, is actually located right along Waialae Avenue, adjacent to H1 Freeway and Kalele Road, which is sort of the back door to the University of Hawaii. So why here? For us, it's an incredible location. Just due to its proximity to downtown, University of Hawaii, hospitals and services within the community. It's rare that affordable housing projects get the opportunity to come in town and have this opportunity for this range of affordability and the great need. The site's about 20,000 square feet. It's in the urban district. The property's zoned A2. There's actually 6 existing apartments that are on the project now that are on the property. As I mentioned, great central location. It's walking distance to UH. The connectivity within the community is really a great spot for building housing and particularly affordable housing. Next slide, please. So this takes a village. We put together a team right off the bat, people that we've worked with for many years to help design and come up with a plan that makes sense. We bring in our consultants that help with the infrastructure studies, soil studies, all of these things to make sure that the project is viable and is a quality project long term. Next slide. So the plan itself, as Chair Say had said earlier, originally we had proposed 211 units. In listening to the community and working with Chair Say, we've scaled the project back to 182 affordable homes. There's 59 studios, 94 one-bedrooms, 29 two-bedrooms. We also scaled back the parking to 217 stalls. Amenities are important to us. We're building communities here, not just units for people to live in. We want to have people that can come out and create memories together, have places for their kids to play, places to gather. And so we've created 2 recreational decks, a small swimming pool, a fitness center, community rooms, and some barbecue areas. The project is 23 stories now, 210 feet, and that's scaled down from what we'd originally gone to the community with, which was 250 feet and 28 stories. So you can see here where Kalele Road is, the entrance to H1 as well as the off-ramp. One of the things we did, we spent a lot of time working with our traffic consultant and our civil engineer to make sure that we did entries that worked best to help mitigate traffic in the area, any impacts from our project. And so you can see where we enter in one way and then you exit one way, coming out to the left. Next slide. This is a close-up showing you can see the first level. We have an entry and a lobby area, a small mail room, some of the back-of-house mechanical areas, and then your ground floor parking. As we come up the building, next slide, you can see our standard sort of parking footprint as we rise. Parking is important. We don't want to overpark any of our projects, but we want to make sure we have enough parking that we don't have people that are spilling out into the community and taking parking in front of other people's homes. That's always a negative impact. Next slide. When you get to the 8th level, this is the beginning of where we have our residential units. It's also where we have our first pass at the amenities. As you can see, a fitness center, community center. We have a leasing office, oversized laundry area for sheets and blankets, commercial laundry, and then the pool. Next slide. Here's our typical residential floor. We have 12 units on a typical floor. That's actually a typo. We have 4 studios per floor, 6 one-bedrooms and 2 two-bedrooms. We did a lot of studying to see the mix in the community and what's desired and what's needed. We think we've struck the right balance there through our studies and working with our partners. Next slide. This is the top floor. We've actually created a rooftop deck that is viewing kind of towards the Malka side. We have some barbecue areas here, some gathering areas. We also have solar that you can see, lounge seating, sunrise, sunset views, et cetera. Again, for us, it's important. We're creating communities here. People are going to be living here long term, raising their families here. We want to make sure that they have places to gather outside of their unit. Next slide. Sustainability is a key element for all of our projects. We strive for LEED Silver on all of them. We incorporate LEED Silver throughout, EV charging stations, Energy Star appliances, solar, among many other things. We bring on professional consultants that help us achieve these goals as we work through the permitting and building process. Next slide. So this is just to give a little bit of a context. You can see you know, obviously height and density is always an issue when we're developing in any community, and traffic. Those are the number one things. One of the things we look at is what is the context of the area, where do we lie? Obviously, we're in an urban environment here. There is a fair amount of high-rise density around. You can see our Pahoa Ridge project is kind of in the middle top, thank you, in that area there. Actually, I would ask you to note these renderings were done before we reduced the height. So the building, as you see it, will be actually 5 stories less. Next slide, please. This shows you look in the opposite direction, sort of Eva Mackay. You can see the project in the foreground. Again, the parking would be a couple of stories lower and 3 levels on the residential for a total of 5 lower. Next slide. A little bit closer, you can see the context, obviously our adjacency to H1 and UH, and again, you can see a lot of the other residential buildings that are in this area. Next slide. Again, this is coming down Kalele Road. You can see Diamond Head in the background on the right. The project, again, would be 5 stories less than what you see here. Next slide. So our residents. One of the key elements you can see is, and we've talked about, is who is this serving? You know, when we're working on the AMIs, 60% and below, the LIHTC projects, which is the greatest need, and as Mo was mentioning earlier, the one that we really focus on and want to do more of. It's limited because of the financing that's available in the program. But the people that are, you know, anywhere from retail workers, you know, mechanics, flight attendants, preschool teachers, waiters and waitresses, these are the people who need housing more than anyone, and we are focused on that. What we've come up with, as Mo had mentioned, is this other program, the 501c3, the missing middle, that 80 to 100% AMI, and that's serving sort of the Alice population that really doesn't qualify for the 60% AMI and below, and yet can't pay market. And so how do we target programs that reach those? Those educational administrators, you know, civil engineers, post-secondary teachers. There's a whole group of people that aren't being served that we're working to provide for. Next slide. Our process. So as we started this, we were looking for ways that we can entitle the project so that it has the most options to actually be executed and actually get built. So when we started this, we have the 2 programs that were described earlier, the LIHTC and the RHRF Tier 2. We've committed to 2 years, a total of 4 applications to get the financing so that we can build rental affordable apartments. Only to the extent that we weren't able to do that because it's so competitive, we had provided a for sale component to build for sale affordable housing. That's not being included in the approvals today, though. Next slide. So the continuum of affordable housing, I touched on that. You can see the LIHTC rents anywhere for a studio apartment between $687 and $1,375. And then when you go to the Tier 2, that missing middle, anywhere between $1,800 and $2,200. It continues throughout, whether you go the 1, 2s, and 3 bedrooms, but you can see really the areas that we're trying to target from a rental standpoint. Next slide. So schedule and outreach. We were approved by HHFDC under their 201H process in December. Obviously, we're here before you today. Our hope is that if we are approved by council, that we will submit in February for the LIHTC financing, which is February 16th. We're only allowed to submit 1 time per year in February. So it's very important that we are entitled by then. And then our hope is if we receive an allocation that we would begin construction in 2026 and hopefully have families moving in 2028. We've done a tremendous amount of outreach. That's one of the things we always focus on and do. We started this with a town hall meeting in May of last year. We also presented to the neighborhood board. We're kind of on the border of several neighborhood boards, so we went out and reached out to each of them, let them know about our town hall. We also then had a secondary town hall. Got a lot of great feedback from the community on traffic in particular, density and height. And at that second town hall meeting, we also did One more neighborhood board meeting after that for the Diamond Head Neighborhood Board. Met with a lot of people and stakeholders throughout. Again, we do our best to mitigate the impacts of any of our projects. And our hope is that, you'll see the work that we've done today with that. So mitigation measures, as Chair Sayed outlined, we've come back and we've reduced the height and the density on the project. We understand, the concerns that come from the community, and we want to address that. The reality is there'll still be people that aren't happy with the amount of units we have, but every unit we take away is an affordable unit that we're not delivering in 3 to 5 years. Traffic, always a major issue on any of our projects. The reality is there's already traffic issues on Waialae Avenue, people that speed. These are regional issues that any one project can't solve, but we worked very hard with our traffic engineer, Austin Sasumi and Associates, coordinated with DOT, DTS, and TRB, and we came up with these measures to provide speed bumps on Waialae Avenue. Also, as I mentioned earlier, we worked really hard on the entrance and exit of the project to make sure there'd be as little impact as possible. And then we're realigning the island to create a safer turn coming off of Kalele Road. It also allows us to extend those vertical delineators off of UH, which we think will make the area safer for pedestrians as they cross. Next slide. And that's it. Mahalo, we're available for questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duker. Members, are there any questions for the applicant? Okay, Chair Waters, followed by Councilwoman Tupola.
Thank you. Good morning. Hey, I'm just curious, how did you choose this project site? I mean, just looking at the map, you can see all the buildings across the street of, or when I say street, I mean the freeway.
Waialae.
Well, the freeway, right? You can see all the buildings on Kapiolani Boulevard, that area, Mo'iliili, I would call it. And then on the right side, there's no buildings. Well, there's smaller buildings, right? You got that storage center right at the I guess the crossroads where you could go to Waialae or Kapiolani. But other than that, you got no high rises. I mean, why that spot? And the entire urban core that's available to you, why that spot?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of sites in the urban core. There's not very many that a seller is willing to work with us to provide us the amount of time that we need to do the entitlements and get the financing. That's an element of it, but also because it's a great site. It's zoned right now A2, and it allows for 150 feet in height just by right. So it's meant to be developed for multifamily housing in the current zoning. Granted, we are asking for additional height and density and some other items to build affordable housing. We think it's a great site, just given its location to UH, given its urban proximity. But it's tough, very challenging to find sites that are zoned residential like this, that do have some height, that a seller will work with us to help provide affordable housing.
So the current zoning allows for 150 feet, right? 150, that's what, 15 stories?
Depending on your floor height, yeah, 15 to 17 stories.
And then you're going up to how many stories?
We are going up to 24 stories.
24
I'm sorry,
stories.
23.
23. And originally it was even higher than that, but you cut it down.
Yeah,
What was it originally?
It was originally 28 stories
28
and
down.
250 feet. And, working with Chair Say and the community, we've brought that down.
Okay, and what allows you to go above the 150 feet is the state law, Hawaii Revised Statutes 201 subsection H, right? That's what you're utilizing. And I'm partly, that, and I think everybody at the table knows that. But for people watching and those in the audience, it's not the city's law that you're utilizing in going above the 150 feet. You're utilizing state law, right?
That is correct, yeah. The state law allows that, 201H allows, for those that don't know, the ability to receive exemptions to zoning and height and variances as long as you're developing affordable housing and focused on it. There's rules based on that.
Thank you. One of the things Mo talked about earlier was the need and demand. You said we all know what that is, but my concern is that developers, the construction industry, and even government needs to do a better job of describing the need and demand. Because what you're talking about is the 25,000 units that we're short, according to the Department of Business and Economic Development. 25,000 units that we're behind in building to meet the needs of our community. That's what you're talking about, right? When you're talking about needs and demand.
Correct.
Okay. What efforts have you made to address the neighborhood's concerns? Because both Chair Say and myself have gone to neighborhood boards, and I've seen you there once or twice via Zoom, but it would have been nice to see you in person to actually sit down with the people who come out to the neighborhood boards and address their concerns. And we see a few of them here today. Obviously, they're not happy. Did you make an effort to sit down with these folks and talk to them to try to address their concerns?
Yes, actually, I attended in person every town hall meeting that we held. I wasn't able to attend a couple of the neighborhood meetings for personal matters, but I was in town. I was in person at the town hall meetings. We offered and we sat down and we discussed these items at length. We offered our phone numbers. We offered one-on-one meetings, and I'm definitely always available. If I attend one meeting by Zoom, I'm here all the time.
One of the things that all of us sitting on this side of the bar pride ourselves in walking door to door, right? Were you able to do that? When they built the Civil Beat building on my street, they literally came to my door to tell us what they were going to do. And it made a big difference in how smoothly that project went. Were you guys able to go and reach out? Because sometimes town halls, either people don't get the notice, or they're not aware for one reason or another, or they simply don't show up to town hall. So I'm just curious, were you able to walk door to door, and how did you get the word out on these town hall meetings?
So I did not walk door to door. We've done that in other communities. We did not do it in this one specifically. We sent out about what was the radius?
Between the two, I think it was 3,020, almost
About 5,000 mailers were sent out. We also asked anybody who attended the initial town hall to please register their email. We also went to the neighborhood meetings and announced those town hall meetings because the neighborhood board meetings have announcements. We also worked through the elected officials to inform them of the meetings so that via their newsletters and via their resident meetings they can inform. I can assure you that every attempt to notify people, with the exception of probably putting an ad in the paper, which we would more than glad to do in future projects, short of that, we made every effort to make sure that the neighborhood is aware. Hence the reason why my partner, Chris Duker, attended more than one neighborhood board meeting beyond the ones that we're in, not only to talk about the project, but to also announce that we have town hall meetings. The reason we have to have the town hall meetings is because the neighborhood meetings, tight agendas don't allow us to present the time length that we're presenting to you today. It's a very short time period for a complex community development like this. So hence the town hall meetings are the only solution, setting aside an actual public hearing to present it and be able to talk to it. It is also your best option to have the entire community come together so that they can hear. And we're transparent about it. Going door to door, like I said, is a very good idea. We've done it before. We did not do it here. But this way they can all hear each other's concerns. They can also hear each other's explanations. It is a very good form. That's why this public hearing in itself is a critical entity, that people can come together and hear various opinions. We believe the town hall meeting is a critical path, and that's why we focused, that's why we did multiple, that's why we sent multiple emails, multiple mailers,
So where
and
was
announced it.
the town hall meeting? What location did you have it at?
Do you have the addresses?
At the St. Louis Clubhouse, the St. Louis Alumni Clubhouse.
I see. Okay. Hey, moving on. In your presentation, you said that there are 6 existing apartments on site. What does that mean? 6 apartment units?
6 rental apartment units, correct.
I see. And that was, and the residents currently live there?
To the best of my understanding, I have to check with the current owner. I think they're all occupied, yes.
Okay. What is the plan with 6 existing tenants? I mean, and how many, that's 6 different families live there?
That is, yes, that is to my understanding. We will, once, if this moves forward and if it's received an allocation in any given year, it will typically take over 1 year, 13 to 14 months to be able to process building permits. Upon receipt of an allocation, which moves us forward to the building permit processing stage, we will go ahead and notify the residents that we're 1 year out, and we will also make sure that when we're 6 months out from start of construction, that the units become rent-free.
Okay. Any help with them in relocating and finding apartments and or even offering them first dibs at moving back to the site once it's completed?
I can definitely offer them first dibs in the site when it's completed, and we can now definitely have our staff work with them to try to identify rental properties that are available. But our intent is to make sure they have sufficient notice. In order to offset the relocation costs, we intend to make sure they have a minimum 6-month free rent period.
So I live in Kaimuki. I drive by there all the time. That's a pretty steep turn on Wailai Avenue, either going onto the freeway or onto King Street by the university. People go fast over there. One of the things you mentioned, speed bumps. Are you installing speed bumps on Wailai Avenue?
Yes, per the request of the traffic department, trying to create mitigation measures of an existing situation. Speed bumps were suggested in addition to the other traffic mitigation measures. I do want to mention, which was not mentioned earlier, that the traffic, we mentioned that we have a traffic consultant. The traffic study that was submitted for the original unit count of 211 units, the peak AM was a 0.9% increase in traffic, and the peak PM was 3.1% increase in traffic. It was below 80. I don't have the actual.
76 in the evening and 64.
64 in the morning translates to 0.9%, and 78 in the evening translates to 3.1. We recognize there is a traffic problem in that area. I drive it, I pass by it, I live down the road, so I know that the traffic, I pass by it all the time, especially getting into H1. The reality is the mitigation measures that are being, especially the speed bumps, that turn that is being requested, that is a mitigation measure or that is a traffic correction that needs to be done whether this project is developed or not. The fact that we are taking, we are using this opportunity to put that cost on an affordable housing project in order to mitigate an existing issue. This is a regional traffic issue. When we go back to the site selection, we would love a flat site that is open and easy to access. There's simply not that many available, not that many offered, not that many where the landowners are willing to work with us. If it was up to us, we would choose wide open sites that are completely flat, have no traffic issues, have no height issues, and meet the density. But if that was readily available, every developer would pick that. The reality is when you look at the urban core, as development continues in various types of different products, the available land, what we call vanilla land that's simple and straightforward, becomes far and few in between. And the developer then has to work with an area that is zoned for that request. So in our zoning, when my partner mentioned 150 feet height, we're asking now for 182. That's a 32-foot increase above the allowed height. Typical. One more time? 210. Sorry, 210, apologies, 210 from the 150. 60, thank you for the correction. So, and if you, I mean, if you look at this, and look at the fact that you're proposing 100% affordability. In many situations, when you present affordability, there is bonuses for density and bonuses for height, such as in the 201H. So this isn't a 50% affordability or a 60% affordability under options 1 or 2. This is 100% affordability. And
No, I hear you.
for the financial feasibility to
when we
work, there's
talk
got to be
about the
some.
need,
Yep.
right? That's something that we all need to do a better job in educating folks. But, you know, the other thing, that just talking about the location, so you got 59 studios, 94 one-bedrooms, 29 two-bedrooms, which is a good mix, I believe. But I'm curious who actually is going to want to live there. And if students are going to live there, how are they going to cross the street to get to the university?
Under the LIHTC proposal, no student head of household is allowed. We can't, LIHTC,
No student?
yeah, LIHTC does not allow having a head of household for student housing. Now, if a child is or someone, but head of household cannot be a student, it would be against LIHTC regulations. We cannot rent to students. Now, under the 80 to 100%, you are able to do so, but not under the LIHTC
I
proposal.
see. So oftentimes, so you got all these studios, you have kupuna or single people, right?
Yes.
How are they going to cross the street? Even more dangerous. At least a student can run fast. I mean, I'm halfway joking, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to cross the street there. How do you get to the university or across the street? Say there's professors who want to live there and walk across the street. It's dangerous.
Well, I agree.
Is there a crosswalk there? We talked a lot about pedestrian safety yesterday.
There is an existing crosswalk. We are not, I mean, this is an existing situation that is currently in place, that is currently being used.
Right.
We're adding further mitigation measures above and beyond what the project traffic is generating in order to slow down traffic, make the turns easier, and make the crossover to H1 not possible.
So I see the crosswalk on Kalele Street, but are you talking about the crosswalk further down right before the on-ramp to the freeway?
Yeah, that crosswalk there exists. This is an existing condition. We're not creating a new condition.
No, I know, but now, yes, you are. You're going to have approximately 200 plus people now living there needing to cross the street. So how are they going to cross the street?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, Councilmember Waters, great question. You can see here, I think this illustrates it a little bit better. On the lower left side, there's an existing crosswalk right now. That's where everybody who is coming from the Mackay side of the freeway, as they cross over right now from the Contessa, all of those other community buildings that are down there, when they're going to UH, they come down here and they cross the kind of upper left portion of the crosswalk. So everybody that is coming down Waialae Avenue from the top of the project, they come down and then they cross right at that. Yeah, I know the mouse isn't working very well for the pointing it out, but you can see that just above the blue car, that's where everyone currently crosses. That's where they will continue to cross and then get over and then go up into Kalele Road. What we are doing as part of our mitigation measures is there's vertical delineators that are kind of on that triangle that split where the two crosswalks are.
Yep.
We are putting new delineators in that are a little bit brighter and easier to see and a little stronger. We are also extending those further Malca than what that current triangle shows, which will keep cars from coming across from our project, but it also will further delineate as people are coming to go onto H1. There'll be a sooner split whether they go on H1 or whether they cross over Waialae Avenue. It's a safer crosswalk at that point because there's more length. In addition, the crosswalk that you see on the top that goes across Kalele Road, we are actually rebuilding that island there so that the turn on the left side of that turn, if you will, is more aligned with the road, so it comes in straight. It makes for a safer turning radius. And then we're extending a bulb out on the bottom area. If you can get, that bottom area to make it not so impactful when they cross, so.
Why that's relevant is during the baseball games and now football games that are held on campus, volleyball games, both men and women, very popular. You know, one lane typically comes out, goes onto the freeway, and the other lane comes out and goes onto, I guess,
Wiley,
Wiley.
crossing over, yeah.
Right. So is that what that is meant to
It's
accomplish?
that movement will still be allowed. It's going to be a safer turn for people that are coming out to go onto Wiley, because they won't be angled when they're looking at traffic. They're going to be able to see it coming head on. That came out of one of our meetings with community members that had expressed when they were coming out of Kalele Road that it's difficult when they're on that left side and they want to turn to come onto Wiley because they can't really see that well. So that straightens out, gives a better visibility as they make that turn, and makes it safer.
I see. And again, when people are taking that sharp left turn, they're going fast and building up speed going onto the freeway. So that's a concern. And then, how do residents who are going to be living in the new building get on the freeway?
If residents here, we anticipate they're going to come out, they're going to take a left onto Wiley, they're going to head down towards University Avenue, and then take a right on University and get on the on-ramp that way if they're heading west.
West.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they're heading east?
East, there's no easy way for anybody on this area to get on the freeway heading east. More than likely, they're going to head up through Kaimuki, maybe onto Harding Avenue, and get up closer to sort of the top of Kaimuki.
It looks like based on the configuration of the building with the exit and entry, well, actually, what I'm concerned about is how do you stop your residents from darting over into the far right lane and then getting onto the freeway?
Do you mean coming, we have on our entry only area? Or do you mean on the exit?
On the exit. So
So
you
the
exit in the building and you dart over 2 lanes, 3 lanes, and you get onto the freeway.
Yeah, that was obviously one of our concerns from the start, as well as DOT's in particular and DTS. And by the way, Wiley Road, the jurisdiction is under DOT, but we did work closely with TRB. What we're doing there is there's vertical delineators that are there now, but they've been kind of beat up over the years, and some of them are broken and no longer there. What we're working with DOT is to put in new delineators, and we're going to extend them. So if you see the top of the triangle where Mo's sort of showing there, we're going to extend 2 additional delineators out into the lane. That is going to stop people from turning. We're also talking to DOT about the possibility of not only having the delineators, but a curb there as well. But there's some safety concerns that they have with a curb, so we have to work through that with them.
So a vertical delineator is basically a plastic tube inserted into the road?
They are, yeah. A lot of highways, you see them around town. A lot of our bicycle lanes here in town have them as well, the vertical delineators.
Yeah, that's going to be eaten up in like 6 months.
Well, that's one of the reasons we asked to have a curb put in there.
Yeah, like
well.
at the top of the Cocoa Head Avenue cutoff, they have that curb. People still go through that curb and hit the house right across the street from the freeway. Even having a curb there is probably not sufficient. People go over it, yeah. So, I mean, that's what I would say. That was one of the main concerns that I heard people talking about. How do you stop people coming out of this building? And you're going to have a lot of them, right? They're going to want to get on the freeway as simply as possible. And I'm not sure plastic tubes in the asphalt are really going to achieve that. It may for a little while, but you know, DOT has a lot of these all over the place, and you can see them. They get worn down pretty fast. So that's just one last concern. Okay, Chair, and no further questions at
Okay,
this time.
thank you very much. Councilwoman Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, Chris. Thank you for being here.
Morning.
Couple questions on the PowerPoint. So I wanted to go back to the picture that had the 30% AMI, 50%, 60%. Yeah. This particular page was of interest to me because you were actually identifying particular occupations that might fall in this. Are the dotted lines the incomes that your project is hitting, or is it outside the dotted lines, or are you saying that the dotted lines don't get enough housing? Could you just explain it one more time?
Yeah, great question. It's actually, it is dotted around to illustrate what the LIHTC is. We wanted to show the difference between the 60% AMI and below, and then the 80 to 100%. So our focus is the dotted line, the AMI, as we mentioned earlier. The challenge with that is there's only so much funds that go to projects. So as Mo had mentioned earlier, we're trying to expand that. That allows for the ALICE population, the 80 to 100%.
And so inside the resolution, that's kind of what you guys described as scenario 1, 2, and 3. That scenario 1 would be the LIHTC, scenario 2 would be the the rental housing revolving fund, and number 3 would be for sale units. So that's kind of the scenarios you're going to pursue, and you don't have control over who gets chosen, so that's why you showed
That is
this.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to keep it open to all options. We want to build affordable housing. We want to do LIHTC first and foremost, but it's just oversubscribed. So to the extent we can, and we can take advantage of the missing middle, the RHRF, then we'll do that and build housing.
And the first 2 scenarios are rentals, and the third scenario would be for sale.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, that was my clarification on the presentation.
One item too, just to clarify. So we submit for the LIHTC in February of any given calendar year. We usually find out in July or August if we receive an award. The missing middle, the RHRF, that has typically been held in the past in the fall. August, September is when you submit, and then you find out at year end. So what we're doing here is we're submitting for the LIHTC first this February. If we don't get it, we're going to submit for the RHRF in the fall. And if we don't get that, we'll submit again for the LIHTC next February. And if we don't get that, we'll submit again for the RHRF in fall of 2025.
What would trigger scenario 3?
Okay, hi, Mo again.
Hello, Mo.
How are you? Just to clarify on the missing middle 80% to 100%, that's the income targeted for the second proposal. The only way that those communities are possible is through a special program called RHRF Tier 2. That has only been in place once, and it was not in place last year. And we're hoping that the legislature puts it in place this year. The only true viable option before you today that there is a consistent program and a demonstrated track record for is option 1, which is the 30 to 60%. The legislature is talking about the RHRF Tier 2, which has only occurred once in 2022. They did not come to an agreement in 2023. Hence, there was no round for an 80 to 100% proposed development in 2023. So that's kind of keeping that in mind. It's pending the legislature's allocation. So when you use the word typical, typical is LIHTC. Atypical is the 80 to 100%. That's something that the state of Hawaii is trying to grapple with because of the limited bonds that are available at the federal level, that no matter how much the state of Hawaii puts money, or the county or city, you cannot get more units. The only other alternative is the 80 to 100%, which is badly needed.
The LIHTC is given out through HHFDC?
Both programs are allocated through HHFDC.
So the monies that you're seeking for the bonding is through the state. Did the city bonds, like our private activity bonds, not help? Are they not available still?
I don't know the exact status. I know the city did keep their private activity bond allocation, and they did allocate it to existing AC rehab projects. I believe they've reached a collaborative agreement with the state, but I'm not the best person to answer that question.
And in the scenario of for sale, would that still need a 201H?
It would still need a 201H because in all scenarios, we're asking for an increase in density and an increase in height. So there are concessions that are being asked of the existing zoning. The for sale component requires a different program with HHFDC called Dwelling Unit Revolving Fund, DURF, which is also not as oversubscribed but as limited. And today, if affordable for sale housing 100% affordable for sale housing, as we're proposing, is easily and financially available, you'll find multiple options being presented to you. The reality is it's very difficult to make work, hence it's our third option. Why are we presenting that third option? 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is we've been asked numerous times, come back with alternatives. Don't stand in line for the single pot of money that we all know is oversubscribed. Number 2 is, again, working with landowners. Landowners, private landowners are not coming and saying, sure, you want 6 years? I'll give you 6 years. I'll sit tight on my property. They want us to close and purchase the property. For us to close, we have to have an execution. The reason also for the 3 scenarios and what we are being held to task at is High Ridge Costa is being transparent. We are not coming back 2 years to suddenly say, hey, another option is affordable for sale. We are saying it up front today. Those are the 3 executions that are before us. Those are the AMI rents that we're proposing, and this is what we are proposing to do. We want to be transparent with the community. The last thing we want to do is come back and present options. We know today that those 3 may be possible. They're not only in the order of preference, our preference and focus is LIHTC, but they're also in the order of which are more financially feasible. LIHTC, the program is there. RHRF2 missing middle depends on legislative allocation. If it's not there, it's not there. And it's very difficult to make affordable for sale pencil. But we're being transparent in our intentions, transparent in our objectives. But we need these objectives in order to be able to tell the land seller, we hope to close one day. We hope to have an execution.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I actually haven't seen someone come forward with the 3 options, even though that's kind of what happens. I mean, it happens in my community all the time. You come up short, I got to write another letter, we got to reapply because we're going to come around and say the same project again, but for a different pot of funding, which then the community gets confused because they're like, is it coming up again? Like, no, it never came up because they never got the funding. So I think, you know, this is important for us to understand because we were told that supposedly the private activity bonds from the city were going to be of help to this, knowing that we have very few options on the state and knowing that we have a small amount of money on the city side that we can allow for bonds. So I will follow up with the housing director on that. And those are all the questions I had. Thank you for the clarification on the chart. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you, Chair. Councilmember Waters asked a lot of the questions relating to traffic concerns, but can I follow up with regard to your proposal for those who are exiting, either utilizing a vertical delineator or the curb? I concur that neither would probably be helpful. And I'm wondering if a concrete barrier, you know what I'm talking about, right?
The ones you see on the highway.
Well, supposedly in response to the concerns by the neighborhood board, you stated that you're gonna coordinate with the State Department of Transportation Highways to physically prevent drivers, and those 2 options will not prevent them. And with regard to the curb, I know for a fact that it wouldn't just impact those coming out of the exit. For other drivers who at last minute want to go on Wailai Avenue, sometimes people don't see the curbs and it creates a very dangerous environment. So either way, whether you're on the right side of the street heading to the freeway or on the left hand, it's very, very dangerous. So can that be a proposal to consider with the State Department of Transportation?
Yeah, very much.
A physical concrete barrier where that is physical for me.
Yeah,
You can't go on the freeway.
Totally agree with you. We're happy to do that. When we were working with DOT, you know, initially the first response was, okay, put in new vertical delineators. We actually kind of came back and said, after really listening to the community at the second town hall meeting, it was clear there was a few issues that we weren't aware of, like that turn off Kalele Road that I'd mentioned. So we went back and looked at it, at what else we can do. That's where we said, let's extend the delineators. We are open to putting concrete barriers there. I think there's some safety concerns and issues from DOT on that because, you know, again, people are coming and speeding up to get on the Wailai. I don't know those, but we're happy to do that.
And it's a cost-benefit analysis of what has the greater chance of an accident. And I would think it would be people coming out of the building. My second question has to do with the crosswalk. I know that there on the map, there is the existing crosswalk. Are you constructing another crosswalk anywhere?
No.
There's an existing crosswalk.
Yeah, there's an existing crosswalk there. To move or put a new crosswalk like on the top of our project is a no-no because they don't want to have crosswalks,
Got it.
too close together.
Got it. And then there are sidewalks. Are there ample sidewalks on both sides of streets for pedestrian safety?
Well, ample. I mean, these are older, like 6-foot sidewalks. I think in front of us, we're working to put 8-foot sidewalks on our property. But
On your property?
yeah, on the other areas, it's an older community with smaller sidewalks.
Yeah, but maybe you kokua because you're increasing pedestrian traffic. And maybe you might be able to kokua with some of the landowners over there. But anyway, if in fact the sidewalk increases traffic, I'm pretty sure your traffic experts can determine whether or not they have one of those lighting systems so that when people are waiting, that the cars will know. I see that there's going to be speed bumps here, but I think that the lighting system, we had the Oahu Pedestrian Safety Plan presentation yesterday, so we're all looking forward to implementation of many of the projects in our district. And I know for my neighborhood in Kailua, the lighting sidewalk is very effective because people nowadays do not pay attention. So you could be in a marked sidewalk and still get hit.
Sure.
So whatever it takes, and because I feel that it's going to be increasing traffic here, you need to consider that. But that's for the transportation department to do as well. I just wanted to find out if you were doing another sidewalk. Thank you.
Are you finished, Councilmember Keano? Okay, Chair Waters?
Thank you. Actually, building upon what Councilmember Keano was just saying, and I just confirmed it with the Transportation Chair. Yesterday during the Oahu Pedestrian Plan, it was confirmed that where you have a side street like Kalele, coming off of, creating a T, that's called an unmarked crosswalk, which means it's legal to cross. So you got to be aware of that. Even though it's not marked, and I went through this painstakingly yesterday with Director of Transportation Services, you might all remember that. It happens right outside of the Hale, going in between, across King Street, in between Kauai Church. That's an unmarked crosswalk. It's legal to cross. So how do you prevent that?
Well, I was not aware that was a legal crosswalk.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know that we can prevent it. I mean, I know, myself and I think many others, looking across the street, I would certainly walk down, 50 yards to go across a crosswalk as opposed to go across Wailai there with cars coming around the corner that I can't see. But I can't guarantee that somebody's not going to try that. And again, we'd be open to putting a crosswalk there, but it's really up to DOT what they want and don't want. I mean, we've worked with them for a couple of months, and they've come back and said this is what we want. Again, we are open to having the concrete dividers. We're open to putting another crosswalk straight across there if that's warranted.
I don't think another crosswalk there would solve the problem. It's dangerous, is what I'm saying. It's going to be dangerous, and people are going to cross, guaranteed. I know you say you can't guarantee it, and I believe you. But maybe that's something to go back to the drawing board with DOT so that when this comes back on second reading, you could address that. No, we're out. This goes right to full
201
council.
H, 45 days.
45 days, yeah. Well, just for Michelle Matson, who's on there watching, can you explain that again, 201H, that we have to do this within 45 days? Otherwise, it's automatically approved without any council input
Action.
whatsoever. But certainly, I think that's something you folks should consider and work with DOT, because like you look at Kahala Mall, what they ended up doing was putting up a fence so that people weren't crossing from Kahala Mall over to that shopping center and Kahala Towers. But I don't think you can put a fence there, right? I know what DOT is saying. You're coming around that turn, you don't want, and people could hit a concrete barrier there. And then now DOT and the state taxpayers are on the hook for accidents. It may actually require, like what they did at the dangerous curve near Olamana Golf Course, you have that delineator in between, but it does the entire turn, right? You do the entire turn so that as people are coming off of traditionally down Wailea, and you take that left, you have the concrete barrier all the way through there. Anyway, sorry to take too much time.
No
on that.
problem. Councilwoman Cordero.
Thank you. Of course, I would reflect on the different concerns that the different council members brought up. But I guess since we're talking about looking at the design of the entry and exit points of the project, one thing that did look, and I was trying to compare both the map of the entry and exit and also the community context of where there's going to be, it looks like a heavy topped tree near the entry point. Because of the grade or the turn of the curve, do we feel that, I guess, the green spaces are set in stone, especially near the entrance? I understand that putting things like that adds to green spaces and also covering for pedestrian access, especially when you're headed towards the crosswalk or raised crosswalk, or I don't know if it's going to be raised, actually, never mind. But would you be looking to consider that possible change because it is coming right after the bend, albeit maybe like a few or so feet after?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're certainly willing to do it. I mean, the landscape plan that's put together here, we're obviously trying to green up the street and add trees. That's always secondary to traffic and safety. So we will make sure that lines of visibility are there and that, the tree, the canopy will be taller than, the cars so people can see. In terms of just the entry and exit, I do want to note right now, the building that is currently there that has the 6 tenants, everyone who exits actually entries and exits right where it says entry only, the words, so it's at the top of the site. So that's one of the reasons, again, we moved it down so that there would be greater visibility for safety, and then also allowing people to be able to see when they're coming into the project. Again, a safety measure as best we can.
Okay, I do, even though I said I echoed it, I do want to share about our delineators. We've had a lot of delineators, especially with the rechannelization of streets in my area, and I have a lot of density too, whether it be in Kalihi or in Salt Lake. And of course, the delineators of they do help, especially at night, but the longevity of them are of concern. So whether it be any of the ideas that they have, but also looking to best practices, whether it be in other counties, but also with, in addition to other development, that would really help. I was trying to look for really good examples, but these are like really long plans and developments that I have to go through, but maybe I'll send it your way if I see something that kind of may work, since I am very used to traveling that direction, especially I went to school in Manoa for like my whole life. So yeah, thank you.
And thank you. I would just add, I mean, I drive this every day, and I recognize, the issues that are there, the current issues are there. We've worked very hard to make sure that we're not making it worse. I totally agree about the delineators. When we initially proposed it, we said, hey, look, let's put a high curb in, trying to balance the safety between, maybe a big concrete divider. For me personally, if you've got to cross over a big, fast, quickly, a big curb, that's gonna do some serious damage to your car, unless you're driving a huge SUV, maybe. I do think that would probably be the best measure, but again, we are open to, concrete dividers if that's what DOT will recommend and wants us to do.
Okay, and I know Councilmember Tupelo asked about the different scenarios, and I know you mentioned that, but I was wondering if you could kind of like reiterate again your thoughts on the different scenarios proposed or modified scenarios.
I'm gonna let Mo handle that one.
Thank you.
So, Councilmember Cordero, the option one is rental for families earning 60% of the area median income or lower. And that is typically funded through private activity bonds and the low-income housing tax credit program. The second option is for families earning between 80% to 100% of the area median income, and that is through a different funding program that provides gap funding without private activity bonds from the state or the county, doesn't affect any of those private activity bonds that need to go to the 60% AMI rentals, and without any state or federal tax credits. But it does need a revolving housing rental fund tier 2 that is appropriated and allocated by the legislature to HHFDC, is also oversubscribed as any affordable program. The third and last option that is no longer on the table here today is the for sale option. And that is the original intent is after we exhaust applying for 2 years, 2 rounds LIHTC, 2 rounds hopefully if funds are available for the missing middle, only then would we pivot to an option that we wanted to develop under affordable for sale. The concern as always is whether it's council or community, we go through these exhaustive neighborhood meetings, town hall meetings, and discussions. And when a project is approved, the question is, when is it and where is it? And the reality is the biggest challenge is the availability of funding. Councilmember Topola mentioned private activity bonds at the county. The reality is whether it went to the county or the state, the total amount of private activity bonds that the state of Hawaii received has not changed. It only was a portion of it that typically goes to City County of Honolulu to the tune of 42+% went to them to place the priority on their project. But that in itself, in totality, does not provide a single dollar of additional private activity bonds, nor increase the production of affordable housing in the state of Hawaii. It is a federal capped limit. So those are the 3 options that we're proposing.
Okay, and your thoughts on the,
Sorry?
on your, what is the best case scenario for you, and what are you hearing from, I guess, from the community and I guess from council?
The best case scenario for us and the best case scenario that we believe the community is supporting, I would defer to the community obviously, but the best of our understanding is option 1, which is our preferred option, which is the option with the established funding rounds, established programs, not, the legislature has made it typical to allocate, unlike the second missing middle that the legislator has only allocated once before, did not allocate last year, and still needs to allocate today. The true typical, as in available and ready to go execution, setting aside oversubscription, is the low-income housing tax credit program that would provide for option 1 under 60%. That is the most likely financing option.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions for the applicant at this point in time? If not, members, may we proceed on? At this time, may I call Ms. Kathy Mitchell of the Board of Water Supply? Yes, Ms. Mitchell.
Good morning, Chair, Chair Waters, and members of the committee. My name is Kathy Mitchell, and I'm with the Board of Water Supply. We submitted written testimony in support of this project. We support proposed CD2, not the original, just proposed CD2.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for the Board of Water Supply? Okay, then we proceed on to Director Apuna.
Thank you, Chair. The department is supportive of the proposed CD, and we have staff here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the director on this? Yes, please go right ahead.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cordero.
This possibly be in the packet with the application, but I know that in other instances and projects and developments, we talked about when there are concerns, or actually even when there aren't concerns, about traffic, that there's a report back from the developers or maybe management. Is that going to be requested in this instance as well?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess how long after development, and do we require follow-ups about traffic and any concerns about that?
Good morning, Chair Say and committee members. Just to quickly address the question about what type of traffic conditions are usually required. The CD1 did include our standard traffic conditions. Whew, sorry, I'm out of breath. Those usually require a whole series of reports, things like a traffic impact analysis, a traffic management plan, sometimes pedestrian management plans. Our traffic review branch usually specifies exactly what they want when they recommend the conditions, which in this case they did. Usually the post-traffic reports are required 1 year after the certificate of occupancy, but that is only one report that's after a whole series of these other reports. And one of the very first things that the traffic review branch asks them to provide is a timeline. So the first thing that the developer has to do is say, okay, this is when we're gonna send you all of these different reports. And then the final one is that 1 year post certificate of occupancy, so that they have 1 year of data to compare what all of the initial reports said to the actual on-the-ground reality.
Thank you for that information. That's helpful.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions for DPP? If not, remember, we are very blessed this morning to have two other agencies to share their thoughts and comments on this particular project. First, I would like to introduce and ask Mr. Albert Palmer to come on up. Albert, are you here? For everyone on the council who is here, Chair, this person or individual, Mr. Albert Palmer, is with HHFDC. Okay, Albert, would you like to say a few words in regards in support of the resolution that is before this committee?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we support this project, and we don't have any additional testimony or comments at this time on the revised resolution, but we are available for any questions if you would like.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Palmer? If this particular, I have one. If this particular measure does pass, do you think they would be in line for some of the allocation in February, rather than having them wait 2 years?
The approval by our board of directors of the exemptions from 201H is independent of consideration for any of our funding programs. They would still have to apply and be selected under those programs.
Okay. No, it's just that if we're undersubscribed, it's going to be very difficult, because personally, I'd rather see a private developer or applicant qualify first before the state, because the state is going to take it all at this point in time. That's my interpretation of what the governor's package is in regards to our public housing. Right? They're going to apply for the LIHTC funds also, to credit.
Yes, they're planning to apply for the LIHTC funding, yeah.
So that limits private development. But I just bring this up because, you know, I'm just happy that Mr. Palmer is here to share his thoughts. And this is the first time, members, that we've had someone from HHFDC come before this council. Oh, Albert, you've been here before then. Yeah, just that we didn't call you up.
Oh, just once.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Chair Waters, please.
Well, thank you. Well, welcome, Mr. Palmer. Thank you for coming and joining us today. And thank you for the hard work that your department does, your agency. I'm just curious, how many applicants do you get every year? Because we see at least a dozen requests for 201H projects every year. And we've been passing them out pretty regularly, but we never get unless we see it being built, we never really get feedback on what is actually approved from HHFDC. So first, how many projects do you see coming through your office every year?
For the 201H exemptions, you probably see all of the projects. I don't think we've denied any applications recently. The number has gone up in recent years. In the past, it probably was averaging 1 to 2 per year, and maybe closer to 3 to 4 per year now. For the consolidated applications for LIHTC and other financing, to my understanding, we've also had a sharp rise in that number of applications the past several years, being probably around 25 applications per year, which is, I think, as they stated, 3 to 4 times as many as we are able to award. So, I think everyone's interested in building more affordable housing, and the projects are out there, just waiting for funding.
So interesting. So you say you get about 25 and you approve, that's 3 or 4 more than you're able to approve. So, I mean, help me out with the math. So
Yeah,
how many do you actually approve?
That'd be around,
I mean,
there's around
approving
6.
for financing we're talking about.
Yeah, again, I'm not intimately familiar with the finance side of things, but I think it's around 6 applications they were able to approve this cycle.
Yeah. Do you have any recommendations on how we can help with the financing? Councilmember Kia Aina and I actually went to DC last year and spoke to our congressional delegation about increasing our LIHTC percentage that we get. And lots of states, they don't use it. So I said, hey, give us their allocation, but apparently you can't do that. But, there's such a big need for affordable housing. And if you folks can work with us and figure out how we can increase that or make a revolving fund of our own. I think we put $8 million a year into our fund, but how can we leverage that $8 million? It built up to about $42 million at one point. But, if you have any ideas on how we can leverage that money to help with the financing of these very important projects.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your enthusiasm. I can definitely take that back to our director and let them know that you guys are looking for feedback on that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Palmer? Albert, may I just say thank you very much for your attendance here. That's number 1. And number 2, to convey my best wishes and New Year's to the executive director or director Minakami and the whole gang of HHFDC.
Thank you, Chair.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Members, then we also have from our city and county, our Department of Transportation Services, Mr. Chris Clark, the Chief Planner, if you'd like to say a few words on this particular project.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. My name is Chris Clark. I'm the Chief Planner in the City and County of Honolulu's Department of Transportation Services. As was previously mentioned, we're integrated when DPP's traffic review branch reviews projects like this, and so we provide them comments directly, and we've had several meetings with the developers, traffic consultant, and also HDOT and other parties, and have participated in the proposal that was presented to you earlier. And we appreciate their countermeasures that they've proposed. And but just to note that the facility in front of them is a state facility, so both the crosswalks that would be required to get down to King Street are located on HDOT's property. So the specific design considerations, like was mentioned, whether that's post or that's a concrete barrier, that would be up to HDOT to design that and to approve any kind of encroachment into their right-of-way. We're certainly supportive of TOD projects, and this project itself obviously is dense. It's near mixed-use development. There's a great pedestrian environment. There's opportunity for the residents here to get access to the adjacent land uses. We have really high-quality transit in this area. The one serves these residents. We would mention, though, that we did have a comment regarding the parking. We would encourage developments like this to reduce their parking down to TOD levels, and so they do have more parking than the ITE trip generation manual recommends for this kind of land use. Obviously, with parking spaces comes traffic. So that's one point of comment that we did have to the developer. Certainly they have to work through the market to be able to produce a project that sells, but that is one comment that DTS did have. Happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions for Mr. Clark, please? Chair Waters.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. This is terrific. When you're talking about HDOT, you're talking about Hawaii Department of Transportation, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then let's talk about parking for a second. I mean, it's hard to get people out of their cars. One of the concerns, I think, when there's a lack of parking is that the residents will park in on the neighboring streets. So Kalele, right? If there's not adequate parking, they're going to try to park on Kalele. Have you taken a look at whether or not there is even parking on Kalele, and is that going to be a problem?
Yeah, certainly there would be, it would be prone to spillover parking in that community, just like we see everywhere. But at the end of the day, for every parking space you build, that's putting another car on the street. So if there's 100 too many parking spots, not only this development, but really most of the development that's coming in here has way too much parking, more than is recommended by the IT parking generation manual or trip generation manual. So not city standards, but national standards, way more parking that would be recommended for this kind of land use. So that's going to result in additional car trips.
Yeah, understood. And we spent a lot of time talking about restricted parking zones in my colleague's district, where we know firsthand that when you have a development that doesn't have adequate parking, it's gonna spill over into the neighboring communities. So just something to think about. But I agree with you. I mean, you want to get people on mass transit. You want to get them out of their cars. It's just very difficult to do. But thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair Waters. Vice Chair DeSantos Tam.
Thank you. This is less of a question than something just for the department to think about as the project moves forward. As an avid bus rider myself, I'm concerned about how folks from this project would access the bus. There is fairly robust bus service on the Route 1 as well as the 9 and 13. They have to walk a little bit. But I think the challenge, and this goes to Chair Waters' question about the crosswalks, is they have to cross Waialae Avenue either in front of the project or a little bit further back towards the self-storage, or go all the way back to the traffic light there. And then if they're coming from town, they have to, again, cross by the Humane Society and then cross back. I would just ask the department as part of the traffic study to look at how potential residents can access the bus, because I think this population is probably going to, have more bus riders than an ordinary project would, and that's a good thing. But we want to make sure that they're able to do it safely.
Yeah, thank you for the comment.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark, thank you very much also for your attendance here this morning and getting your particular input. Okay, members, may we proceed on to the... Madam Clerk, are there any remote testimonies before this body?
Yes, Chair, we have testifiers.
Okay, first we have Mr. Sterling Higa. Mr. Higa, are you there? Okay.
Yes.
You may proceed, Mr. Higa.
Great. Thank you, Chair and council members. My name is Sterling Higa, testifying in my role as Executive Director on behalf of Housing Hawaii's Future. Housing Hawaii's Future is a nonprofit creating opportunities for Hawaii's next generation by ending the workforce housing shortage. We support this proposed project. Just want to say for the record, this council decision is about more than just a single project on Waialae Avenue. It's a case study in how the concerns of a privileged few are used to justify denying housing for the future. Already, this project has been shrunk and dozens fewer units will be built on site. So that's dozens of future families without affordable housing, and they didn't get a vote. Contrary to the noble and wise Council Chair Waters, going door to door won't help you find the people who most need this affordable housing, because by definition, they can't afford to live in the neighborhood yet. Or they're living in this neighborhood but can't vote because they're high school students who will need housing soon. Or they're part of the Native Hawaiian diaspora on the continent that can't afford to come home. Or they don't even know that this zoning committee exists. So I ask this council to please carefully cast your vote in favor of the future and not just the privileged few who are already lucky to call this neighborhood home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Higa. Any questions for the testifier, Mr. Higa? Okay, thank you. Let's proceed on to Ms. Patty Kawano. Ms. Kawano, are you there? Okay, yeah. Good morning. Oh, unmute yourself.
Sorry. Aloha, Chair and committee member. Thank you, Chair Say, for drafting the modified CD1. Great questions from members and Chair Waters. I only support truly simple, affordable housing built the right way. This lot is too small, problematic, and too close to traffic for such a monster building. I urge the City Council and DPP to limit the building height to existing code of the A2 of 150 feet. Build a 15th floor with no amenities, and urge you to implement effective traffic solution on Old Waialae Road by the Humane Society where the left turn to South King Street is, which has very few people have addressed that problem. And this will be for the safety of thousands who live, work, and commute through this high traffic major corridor. So may I suggest that the committee reject this resolution and for the developer to go back to the drawing board and to restart the design and do it right this time because of the 45-day timeline. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kawano. Any questions for Ms. Kawano? If not, thank you very much. Let's move on to Mr. David Shimokawa. Mr. Shimokawa, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Please proceed.
I hope to get some extra time on this thing because I speak as a professional who has experience in urban and regional planning, as well as having to work for the Department of Transportation, retired already. Bull Ridge was originally a 30 stories to 20,000 square foot lot on half level and half sloping land, and that slope contributes to a lot of cost. There are just too much on a parcel so small. Even with the proposed height reduction, meeting 150 feet, and other proposed conditions, several which are good, and some units, the project is a design akin to trying to put an oversized peg into our small rectangle lot. Pahoa Ridge will generate many traffic issues. I provided some technical issues in my technical recommendations in my written testimony. The need for mitigation and improvements is critical. However, the community never received a TR for further comment on this matter. The community knows about the conditions in the area and the adverse traffic, but many of them are not here to voice their concerns. Over the past several months, the developer did outreach, but there were 2 hour meetings and only 30 minutes were given to the community residents to ask questions, and many answers promised by the representatives have never reached the residents. Now that the building has been changed with proposed modified financing, this is to ask, will the public, such as the 3 affected neighborhood boards, be given opportunity to have another discussion, review, and understanding about the changes that will really happen if the project proceeds? Would that not be the right way, a Pono way to do it, for the development to fit in the community? The project has a physical size that creates a massive imposing structure placed very close to the roadway on Waialae Avenue, far closer than normal. That's the old Waialae Road too. It will look like a towering structure over a surrounding neighborhood and residential houses. It will loom over the houses and building and stand directly at a congruence of travel that is already subject to traffic congestion, delays, and accidents in the face of one of the principal doorstep ingress-egress intersections of the UH Manoa campus and athletic complex. While UH may welcome Pahoa Ridge housing for its campus community, as the zoning committee heard, no students would be allowed to rent per federal affordable housing rules. Further, the window views from the upper floors, perhaps 15 and above, will have direct sight over the entire sports fields, such as but not limited to football and baseball, with soccer coming up. Visually, it will be similar to moving the entire existing painted condominium called the Contessa that was built before the construction of Murakami Stadium to about 100 yards more or less from the stadium center field. Tailgates, free watching, and more guest vehicle overflow could spin off and affect UH game patronage and create issues similar to what other sports city facilities around the nation have faced, with neighboring buildings and apartments having open view of games from units of rooftop gardens. I want to emphasize on this matter of spill out, there is no parking or street parking around the area. Kalile Road is completely red curbed, no parking 24/7. So that continues for the other parts of the community.
Okay, David, can you summarize your testimony? David,
And we're doing it right.
can you just summarize it? Is that it? Is that it, David? Thank you. Okay, any questions for Mr. Shimokawa? If not, thank you very much, Mr. Shimokawa.
Thank you, Chair.
Yep, you're very welcome. Let's move on to Ms. Kelly Nishimura.
Chair, testifier is not logged on.
Okay, let's move on to Ms. Clara Antai.
Aloha Chair Say and members. My name is Claire Antal, and I oppose Resolution 24 because this resolution does not guarantee truly affordable housing. My home is right down the road from the proposed development, so I feel very empathetic towards my neighbors who are being evicted by the Pahoa Ridge project. I am confused as to why we are called the privileged few when many of the units proposed by the project would not be affordable for me, my family, or my neighbors. The proposed scenario 2 allows for most units in the building to be at 80 to 100% area median income, meaning that the current tenants are being displaced for a building that would not even be affordable to the current tenants, nor to anyone earning around 30% area median income. Scenario 1 would serve people earning 30 to 60% area median income, meaning making it the only scenario that actually fulfills the concept of affordable housing. Please reject all but scenario 1 in this resolution and demand that the developer provide adequate support and compensation to the current tenants so they can find comparable quality affordable housing. Mahalo for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Antai. Any questions for Ms. Antai? If not, let's move on to Arwen Revere.
Aloha, aloha council members. My name is Arwen Revere, and I'm a high school student from Kailua. I'm in support of this project as a whole. I hope that you pass all amendments and resolutions. As a young resident seeing the challenges of the housing costs in our state, I represent thousands of my peers whose future depends on your decisions today. I believe that the traffic impact is minimal compared to the transformative effects that this project would have on our communities. I've seen lots of really talented teachers leave the state because they can't afford it, which is hurting our education system. Affordable housing is something that touches every part of our lives. And I think that even though some people are debating this project's affordability, any stable and secure housing option for young people and those who need it is nearly impossible to find. We have one of the largest populations of people under the age of 25 living at home, and we need to do something about this major issue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Revere. Any questions for Ms. Arwen Revere? If not, let's proceed on. Is Ms. Michelle Matson. Is Ms. Michelle Matson? If not,
Sorry, trying to testify, trying to connect.
okay, got it. We'll wait for her. Okay. After Michelle Matson, Madam Clerk, are there any further online?
Chair, there are none.
There are none. Okay. Oh. We're waiting for one of the testifiers online.
Testifier is not responding, Chair.
Okay. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's proceed on. At this point in time, are there any further remote testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we do. We have Erin Todd,
Okay, Miss Erin Todd. Aaron Todd, please.
Hi there. Good morning, everyone. My name is Aaron Todd. I was born and raised on Oahu, and I just wanted to take the time to express my excitement for this project. Affordable housing in this area sounds great to me. I love the idea of being in walking distance of everything I need, and also minimizing my time in the car. All to say that I'm in support of this project. I'll also say that it looks like there are a number of other people on this call who are looking to testify. I think the best way is probably for them to raise their hand so that they can indicate that.
Are you finished, Aaron?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Can we proceed on to Ann Kennedy or Kennedy Ann? You can unmute yourself.
Good morning, Aloha Chair. My name is Kennedy Ann Marks, and I was also born and raised on Oahu. And I'm also here to give my support to the Pahoa Ridge project because of the opportunities it creates for local kids like me to stay on Oahu and be able to afford to live there and be close to family, but also be able to have freedom from living in our parents' house. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Kennedy Ann. Okay, any questions for the testifier, Kennedy Ann? If not, let's move on to Avery Filer. Avery? Your hand is up, so are you there? If not, Madam Clerk, may we proceed on? Okay. At this time, let's move on to in-person testimony. Is that okay? Oh, Mr. Joe Saito. Joe, are you on?
I am. Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Joel Saito. I born and raised in Oahu and grew up in New Valley, and I'm currently a teacher. And I support this project, although there's not a perfect solution to putting these affordable housing projects out there. This project seems reasonable, and it looks like it's gonna. If it goes through, the funding goes through. It looks like it's gonna support people that need it, and so that I hope. I am house secure. I have a place to live right now, but
okay, Joe.
Hello?
Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony. Okay, is there anyone else on remote?
We also have Daniel Braun.
Okay, Daniel Braun, please. And then I see Michelle Manson.
Hey, everyone. I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm also in support of this project and what it represents for affordable housing as a whole. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Braun. Okay, Michael Gabrielek? Michael?
Hi, everybody. Aloha, Chair. Aloha, Council members. My name is Michael Gabrelsik, and I am 26. And I am also in support of this project. As somebody who is raised on Oahu and has lived here for a long time, it'd be great to see more affordable housing for a lot of kids that want to move out of their parents' house. Yep, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we have Michelle Matson. Michelle Matson, could you unmute yourself and testify? Ms. Matson, can you hear us?
And I am 26.
I'm having trouble here.
We can hear you. Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Okay, great. My name is Michelle Matson. As most of you know, I'm a member of the Diamond Head St. Louis Heights and Papahulu Neighborhood Board.
Thank you so much.
And I'm testifying individually in opposition to the proposed Pahoa Ridge development, spot zoning, and
unmute yourself and testify. Excuse me, may we have a short? Excuse me, the two of you. Yeah, we're both having trouble. So can we have a short recess?
I'm having trouble here.
Okay, the committee reconvened. Now we'll call upon Ms. Michelle Matson. Michelle Matson, are you there? We see your kitchen, so you're somewhere. Okay, why don't we defer Ms. Matson and wait until she comes back on? And at this point, are there further online testifiers? Ossian Nichols. Ossian, are you there? Nichols. Kennedy. Yes, who's this? Until she comes back on. And at this point, are there further online testifiers?
Oh, Michelle's back.
Okay. Michelle, okay, please proceed, Ms. Matson.
I'm sorry, there was a technical problem that I was not aware would happen. Again, I'm Michelle Matson. I'm a member of the Diamond Head.
Ossian Nichols, can you turn off your television if that is on at this point because of the background?
It is off. It is off.
Okay. Kennedy, yes, who's this? Until she comes back on. And at this point,
there may be another problem here. Hold on. Well, come back to me.
Michelle, okay, please proceed, Ms. Matson.
I'm sorry, there was a technical problem that I was not.
Say, okay. We'll come back later. Okay. Next.
Just see if there's any other to raise their hand.
Okay, Madam Clerk, is there anyone else by remote who wants to testify? If so, please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom. Okay. Is it Clara once more? You already spoke the first time, but I see your hand up, Ms. Antai. Okay, no. So if there's no other testifier on the remote, let's move on to in-person testimony. We'll now proceed with the in-person testimony. Madam Clerk, do you have any in-person testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we do.
Okay. We've already taken up Mr. Chris Delaney.
No, we didn't yet.
Oh, Chris, okay, please, Chris.
Aloha Chair and Council members, Chris Delaney with Pacific Resource Partnership. We're in strong support of the Pole Ridge project. This is a great opportunity to build more affordable housing with an experienced developer who has more than 30 years of building affordable communities. The development team has done an exceptional job in community outreach. I attended the St. Louis Clubhouse meeting, and as you heard, they've been to a number of neighborhood boards and other town hall meetings, and they're also presenting at HHFDC. So they have outreached, they have listened, they have collaborated with relevant agencies, and they have actually made some changes to this project to meet some of the community concerns. So it's also a great opportunity to provide more housing for our local residents. As we know, Hawaii is in a crisis, or Honolulu is in a housing crisis. We need more than 22,000 units to meet the need of housing. This was a study in 2019 that said we need 22,168 units between 2020 and 25. This will bring much needed affordable housing units to our inventory. And I think this is a great opportunity for residents to live in Honolulu near jobs, restaurants, shops, and to provide more economic activity for the Kaimuki area and our surrounding areas. So I think this is a great project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for Mr. Delaney? If not, thank you very much. Mr. Nathaniel Kinney?
Chair and members, Nathaniel Kinney, Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters, Happy New Year. Just wanted to say our support for the project. We also attended one of the community meetings. We do feel that the developer is taking into the concerns about traffic and safety around that area. And I think one of the young testifiers that came before kind of said it best is like, it's not going to be perfect, and let's not let the perfect get in the way of the good. And this is a good project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Kinney? If there is no questions for Mr. Kinney, moving on to Ms. Chloe Ishii.
Good morning. So I've taken a little break, so it's been a while since I've seen you folks, but I am now a student at William S. Richardson School of Law, and I have become even more passionate about finding more economic solutions to Hawaii's housing crisis. And adding to Hawaii's affordable housing inventory is a great way to improve the lives of Hawaii residents. Pahoa Ridge, in particular, is, yes, as we know, across the back gate of UH. And now that I go to UH, I commute from Mililani to Manoa every day. So I know traffic is bad. I know it's frustrating. And I know that it can put a damper on a lot of people's lives. However, I don't believe that the concern about the freeway on-ramp and the safety concerns should be what stops this project. There's going to be numerous ways to figure this out, and I think there's a lot of people coming together that want to find a solution for this, and with so many people wanting to solve this problem, I think there will be a viable solution, so it won't be the reason that this project won't go up. And at the end of the day, there will always be opposition to change, but when there, I have two more sentences. Okay. But when there is a crisis as dire as our housing crisis, we must truly look at the benefits and weigh it against what will be sacrificed. And with this in mind, I'd humbly ask you folks to approve the accommodations that are being requested.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for Ms. Ishii? If not, thank you very much. Okay, Madam Clerk, are there any further, anyone wishing to testify in the chamber? Okay. State your name.
Aloha and Happy New Year, Chair Say and council members, Chair Tommy Waters. First, I'd like to thank all of you for your service to our home and our communities. My name is Dave Watase. I'm in opposition to Resolution 24-9 CD1 and the Pahoa Ridge development. I am a resident of St. Louis Heights for 60 years. I can remember a time when I would see the surf on Waikiki Beach. I can remember a time when I could see the sunsets over the ocean. The hotels and condos stole those views. I can remember a time when everything was so different. Now even I dread to go to Foodland and Market City, Long's at Kamaki Shopping Center because of the congestion. This project is affordable housing on Viagra, an erection waving in the sky that will rape and forever change our community. Since when did affordable housing become the sacred cow that we waive all common sense and exempt land use zoning laws that have been on the books my whole life? These laws are there for a purpose, and they protect our community from radical changes and negative impacts. It doesn't take a paid expert consultant to see one 5-second look at the project rendering, this one right here, that it doesn't belong, period. The project, if built, will be an eyesore, and not just an eyesore, but one that every time someone drives by it, it'll generate the kind of thought that, how the F did that ever happen? Okay, you all know the kind of project I'm talking about. They are here and there around our island, and they stick out like sore thumbs and are ugly. Okay, I'm actually pro-development and pro-construction by heart. I've worked for a developer that has built hundreds of affordable housing units. I support planned development with the community's blessing. That means the developer should have come to the community before actually designing a project that took advantage of the 201H exemptions. My main objection is that they're going above the 60-foot, above the 150-foot limit by 60 feet. If they were considered to community and were actually listening, the community probably might have said, you know, even 150 feet is a little bit high. You know you can go that high, but you don't have to. Instead, they're going for the pie in the sky, you know, presenting something even higher than kind of like giving the concession, but still they're asking for plus 60 feet. And all the community, they're grasping for air, whether it be traffic, whether it be crosswalks, whether it be, you know, you name it, right? It just doesn't fit. I mean, when I was listening to what the developer was saying as far as how they get onto H1, when you really think about it, in the wee hours of the night, they're just going to go across, right? Well, put a concrete barrier, put, you know, sidewalks here and all these things. We don't want those changes. It's fine the way it is, okay? They're going to have to they'll probably make a left turn right across by Humane Society and go completely around. And that location there is very difficult to make a left turn. Otherwise, they're going to go up University Avenue and make a U-turn by Our Redeemer Lutheran Church to get on the freeway, right? I mean, it's a difficult area, and, you know, Austin Susumi, you can get experts to do these traffic studies, and it seems that they approve everything. But when you look at what we as community members, you know, experience every day, I drive through that area, Old Wildlife Road, several times, and this isn't good news. Okay. I'm all for affordable housing. They have TOD, you know, areas with mass transit coming. I think those are the areas where we should focus our affordable housing and the high density, high rises, you know, around Aloha Stadium and those areas. But this is a community with amenities to keep themselves isolated, and they're imposing into my community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watase. Any questions for Mr. Watase? If not, thank you very much. Okay, Madam Clerk, are there any further testifiers in person? Okay, please proceed.
Hello, thank you. There are also two people with their hands raised. Should I yield?
Got it.
Should I go now or should I wait?
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I signed up to do remote, but I'm actually here in person. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much, Chair Say, for your amendments. They're very thoughtful and we really appreciate them. We feel like you've been hearing concerns of our community. I'm still in opposition to this resolution because I live in this community and this is a working class community. People say we're privileged to live in this area, but my income is low. I'm under that 60%. I don't know what percent I am, but I know I am not in that 80 to 100%. I am below 60. I'm probably around 30% AMI. And my neighbors who are going to be displaced by this development, they would not be able to afford an 80 to 100% AMI rental, much less a for sale situation. So I am against scenario 2 and scenario 3, market rate sales. And then also, if we do an 80 to 100% AMI rental, that is not affordable. And then zoning laws are in place to protect our communities. So we are a working class community. We already struggle to live in this area with the traffic, with the pollution and everything, the congestion. And we have a right to be protected by these zoning laws. You know, zoning is in place for our well-being. And so I ask that you please consider protecting us with the zoning laws that are in place. And you really make this an affordable situation with a 30 to 60% AMI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could you please state your name for the record?
My name is Kelly Nishimura.
Nishimura,
Thank you.
yes. Okay. Next we have anyone else in person? Please come on up.
Thank you, Chair and the Zoning Committee. I'm Lydia Nakata. I live on Calais Road for 74 years. Does anybody here believe that this high-rise, even though I am for affordable housing, this high-rise is not going to put a stress on traffic and create a problem for everyone that has to access this wildlife corridor to get onto the H1 freeway? Now, I object to the fact that the gentleman said we're a privileged few that live in this area, because we have to live with a lot of problems with the university traffic, and also going into our driveways without getting rear-ended, trying to get out of it without getting T-boned. This problem is not just about traffic, it's about the way the developer went about it. I live approximately 5 houses from where this project is being built, and I was not notified that this was happening. I found out 25 minutes before the first townhouse meeting, because my neighbor works there part-time, to tell us that this was happening. They did not go to the Manoa Neighborhood Board, and Wailai Avenue is a Manoa Neighborhood Board. They notified the Mo'ilili Makali Neighborhood Board, who we are on the upper end, where St. Louis, Kaimaki, Kapahulu, Diamond Head, Waikiki neighborhood boards are all affected by this because they access this corridor to get onto the H1 freeway. I object to the fact that we were not notified, and they did not notify the other neighborhood boards until we brought it up at the second town hall meeting. I oppose any high-rise in this area, especially if it's going to go over 150 feet, and I would love to see affordable housing, but I don't think that our lives should be jeopardized. My son, my grandson, my great-grandson, my sister, and my other son all live on Calais Road. We come from a stop sign that has a blind turn for university traffic going down to the quarry, and if we get hit by a car, we are at fault because we are coming from the stop sign. Then we have to cross over to Wailai, cross over Kalele to Wailai, and if we get hit again, with oncoming traffic, it is so hard to execute to get across to King Street. We shouldn't have to be forced to go down to the H1 freeway to get anywhere that we want to. The Civil Beat named that intersection by that crossroad by the Humane Society, and the one that you're talking to where all these people from Pahoa High Rise have to go up University, the one by Church of the Crossroad, onto the freeway and off to the freeway from H1 going to University, as the 2 worst traffic engineering situations. And this is going to affect both of them with this high rise. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you all being here and listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nakata. Any questions for Mrs. Nakata? Members? Nope? Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else here to testify? Please.
Hello. Hello, Chair, Council members. My name is Sam Braun. I was born and raised on Oahu, and I'm here to support the Pahoa Ridge Affordable Housing Project. I think projects like Pahoa Ridge provide opportunities for young people like me who are going to be making between 30 and 100% AMI for probably the next 5 to 10 years. Opportunities to live and work close to where they want to, or live close to where they work for affordable rent prices. I know there are concerns about traffic in this area, but I think it's on this council and the state and city organizations that handle that to find a creative solution to be able to build affordable housing for people while managing the existing traffic problems in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further questions for the testifier? If not, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak in person? Okay, if there is no one else, we'll go back. Oh, let's call Miss Michelle Matson first. Michelle Matson, would you unmute yourself? There you go.
Thank you. I'm terribly sorry about the technical issue. I hope it's taken care of by now. I'll begin again. My name is Michelle Matson. I am a member of the Diamond Head Kapalulu St. Louis Heights Neighborhood Board, testifying individually. Our meeting is tomorrow night. And I'm testifying in opposition to the proposed Pahoa Ridge development spot zoning and setting spot zoning precedent within established communities in violation of the Honolulu City Charter and zoning laws and regulations, and causing unsafe traffic conditions and compounded traffic gridlock. The Honolulu City Charter provides for orderly planning and protection of established communities by, quote, not altering the essential character of the neighborhood or being contrary to the intent and purpose of zoning regulations. In accordance with the City Charter, the City Council should take into consideration the character of the community and suitability for particular types of development and the established zoning standards for permitted location, size, and densities of buildings. City Council Resolution 24-9 now threatens and violates established zoning regulations by proposing precedent-setting high-density, high-rise development contiguous to low-density residential areas, together with unsafe traffic conditions and compounded gridlock promising to be consequences of such spot zoning at the location. The proposed Pahoa Ridge high-density, high-rise development site perched above the H1 freeway on the Wailea Avenue terminus, feeding into the H1 freeway's westbound on-ramp, which directly serves the established communities of Kapalulu, St. Louis Heights, and Diamond Head. As for the 45-day restriction, the Honolulu City Council has the authority to deny the incompatible location, size, and density of the proposed misplaced development, and in accordance with the city charter, must seriously consider the significant negative physical impacts imposed on the contiguous communities by this proposed high-density, high-rise development, as described in more detail in my written testimony.
Would you summarize your testimony, Ms. Matson?
Yes. The two main points are violation of established zoning regulations and significant negative and high-risk traffic impacts at this location. In conclusion, the overriding of established zoning regulations and sound planning practices by development proposals negatively impacting established communities and the serious and detrimental ramifications of the proposed Pahoa Ridge development, including significant height and density zoning regulation violations, cumulative traffic gridlock impacts, and potential impacts to the Alawite flood zone, must be taken seriously. Therefore, the City Council Zoning Committee is urged to deny this high-density, high-rise proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else on the internet that wants to testify? Oh, we have one more. Okay, this is telephone, right? Chief. Is the last three digits 069 there? 069?
I'm here, Chair.
Hi, yes. Please state your name.
Hi, got it. Hi, Chair Say. My name is Mike Pacheco. I represent IBEW 1186 and its 3,500 members. Thank you for the time to listen to my testimony. I'm here talking on regards to Resolution 24-9, and we are in support of this resolution where it comes to supporting affordable housing, and we look forward to the jobs that it will create. Thank you for the time to testify.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? If there is no further testifiers present and online, we will now move into members. We are in discussion. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. If I may just quickly confirm with DPP. This director just stepped out. I guess it could be the developer as well, but I just wanted to confirm. So we're talking about it earlier, and it sounds like the underlying zoning is 150 feet.
Yeah, please come on up, Mr. Mohana. Oh, before we proceed, Mr. Mohana, could you recognize Councilmember Okimoto, who also is here in attendance?
Councilmember, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mo. Just to repeat my question. So you had mentioned earlier, I believe, that the underlying zoning, or it might have been your partner, but is 150 feet for this particular
That is my understanding, correct.
Okay, because it's zoned A2?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm that. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. And just, Chair, for the discussion, just wanted to note that, I'm in strong support of this project. I really do appreciate all the concerns raised by the community. I think when we met with the developer in our office, traffic was definitely the main concern that came up. Just spending, a lot of time in this area, 10 years at UH for undergrad, grad school, law school, and then of course from Mid-Pac living on Lime Street. Driving through this area, I know that there's a lot of issues to consider, and I appreciate the contemplation that's going into this about how traffic concerns can be mitigated. I know that it'll be an ongoing conversation that the state and the city, I know, will be receptive to input on how it can be adjusted. But, also just looking at what is allowed here at 150 feet, again, that's something that they can do under the current zoning. And if we're looking at what the city is getting on this, giving them a little bit extra height and density just to lock in rates for income limits, right? So that these units aren't just widely available to anyone that wants to move here and is super wealthy. Obviously there's going to be an ongoing conversation about different income limits and what affordable means to individuals. But when we're talking at folks at all different levels of income, right? From folks working in retail, at our grocery stores, to our teachers, to our firefighters, to engineers, and, folks in our medical field, I think that we're definitely getting a lot by being able to lock in units that have a limit on it, so that we're ensuring that there's inventory available for all those different families. And so I do really support this project and appreciate the conversation and the input from the community that Chair has contemplated and incorporated into his amendments.
All right, members, any other discussion or questions at this time? Okay, Chair Waters.
Thank you. While I'm not a voting member of this committee, I will be voting on this when it comes to full council. But, location is key. It would be preferable to have this building on the other side of the freeway. I just want to encourage members of the public and this committee, for that matter, to get involved with the primary urban core development plan. And by the way, this parcel and this area is in the primary urban core, which has been targeted for development. I do want to encourage developers to look at this, and the community to look at the primary urban core development plan, which is going to be heard before the Planning Commission in February. But we should encourage more development along the King Street corridor, Baratania corridor, and in Mo'iliili, where there already is 150 feet buildings. But those areas, to me, are much better location in this current area. I understand what the developer is saying, that it's hard to work with existing landowners, but I'm not sure what that means, whether or not the existing landowner still has an ownership interest in this property or not, or whether or not developers are buying existing properties and then redeveloping it. But I recognize the need for affordable housing, though. That's the overriding concern. I think as I've been saying for as long as I've been here, since 2019, there is a shortage of affordable housing island-wide. And we do need to build places for young people to live that is affordable. And option one, to me, seems the best. It's 60% AMI and below, which is really workforce housing in my mind. Everybody says 80% AMI and below is workforce housing, but 60% is preferable. We actually need to start building at 30% AMI as well, but that's another story. But having said that, I've been an advocate for affordable housing and continue to do so. So, Chair, look forward to your recommendation and this committee's vote. Thank you.
Councilmember Cordero.
Chair, I just want to thank you because I looked at your amendments and saw your thought process. Well, I actually saw the thought process after the line of questioning to the developer, to DPP, and then comments through testimony as well as reading through the testimony. Of course, I know that scenario one was brought up. I asked specifically both Mo and Chris relating to scenario one because I don't want to say I lean that way, but I definitely would support supporting the project at that scenario. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, thank you so much for a robust discussion. Definitely those lower AMI levels are much needed. We're going to have one open up in November this year that came through this committee, and having studios start at 574 and 4 bedrooms at 2,000 is what that particular development did with the 30%. I mean, we definitely have a need for housing, but I did want to also advocate for the fact that working with High Ridge Costa to resolve community concerns has been successful in my district. We have had things come up. Nothing is perfect. There's always going to need to be wrinkles that are ironed out after all of this happens. And I do believe that they are the kind of people that will come to the community. And as those concerns arise and whatever happens, I have seen them firsthand sit down with super angry people. I mean, it was a room of 100 angry people yelling in this development that happened in Kapolei that they did. And they sat down and they resolved things, they changed things, they listened. And so again, I'm not a part of why that piece of land was chosen, why this size, but I can say that they have become, in my eyes, people that are not just going to build and walk away and say, good luck with everything. They're going to make it the best that they can. And I hope that that's the case here because it is not my district, but I can say that we've went from very severe including traffic issues, no crosswalks, elevator problems, people feeling unsafe, to getting things under control, people being hurt. And I'm still not saying everything is resolved, but I can say that they have tried their best. I have seen them try their best. So I want to keep working with developers that care about the community as much as we do. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion at this point in time? Okay, if there is no further discussion, let's move on. At this point in time, the chair would like to recommend that Resolution 24-9 be amended to the committee draft 1 listed on the agenda addendum, which I think everybody testified in regards to the committee draft 1, whereby we are taking out, deleting scenario 3. Okay. As far as the chair and staff, we tried our very best in trying to address all of the public comments that were at the Hawaii Housing Finance Development Corporation hearing. And there were the height, density, traffic concerns, and that's where I think the jurisdictional issue arises, Mr. Chair, that Wildlife Avenue is part of DOT. And I did try to get the state elected officials involved in trying to resolve this particular issue. They did submit written comments in regards to addressing the traffic problems and safety that they had foreseen and listened to the residents. And that's why these particular provisions were put in and supported by the developer or the applicant. Okay, so we amended the 14th whereas clause to correct the number of affordable units offered for sale to households earning 140% or below of the AMI if the modified project is developed under modified scenario 3. We amended the 16th whereas clause, which provides that the council is approving exemptions and deferrals of the modified project under modified scenario 1 or modified scenario 2 only. There is no exemptions and deferrals and no talk about scenario 3. So we are focusing our attention on affordables. And if the developer or applicant does not make it during the first round, second round, they can always come back and figure out what they want to do if they want to consider scenario 3. We amended condition A to set forth that the applicant is required to pursue financing and development of the modified project under once more modified scenario 1 or modified scenario 2. We made miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments. Are there any discussions? Probably in the resolution, I'll probably do a floor draft, if it is possible, to try to incorporate how Department of Transportation, the Hawaii State Department of Transportation, gets involved in supporting this particular project with the support of our state elected officials. You folks all know that Mr. Chris Clark stated for the record that that particular area of property, that the roads are all part of the state of Hawaii. And that's why I asked Mr. Clark from DTS to say a few words about the jurisdictional issues that we face today. So are there any discussions? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a committee draft 1. And then the chair then recommends that resolution 24-9, committee draft 1, be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 6, the overview of the building code amendments proposed in Bill 65 of 2023 by the Department of Planning and Permitting. Joining us in the council chamber, we have DPP Deputy Director Jiro Sumata to give a brief presentation of the city's proposed local amendments to update the building code through the adoption of the 2018 International Building Code and the Hawaii State Building Code. For your information, the presentation is available online as Departmental Communication number 24-2024. Mr. Sumata, please.
Aloha Chair, Jiro Sumata, Deputy Director, Department of Planning and Permitting. Thank you for this opportunity to present some background information about Bill 65. Hopefully you folks have a handout version of the slides. I just want to quickly go through the slides and then open it up for questions from the council members. So next. So the Bill 65 and our amendments to adopt the 2018 Building Code, they're included in the code is not just the 2018 International Building Code, but also the 2018 International Residential Code and also the International Existing Building Code. The 2018 IBC deals with new construction. The existing, the residential code is for residential developments and construction, and then the existing building code deals with adaptations or renovations to existing buildings. So these three codes are included in this Bill 65. Next slide. So as far as the evolution of the code, it was actually put out in the late 2017 when the IBC and the IRC and IEBC were put out by the International Code Council. The state then adopted the 2018 IBC, or these three codes, initially in November 17th of 2020. All three were adopted. And then for the building code, 2018 building code, the state further amended it with their own state amendments on April 20th, 2021. And then what we have before you is Bill 65, which are the city amendments to the state building code that was adopted. Okay, next slide, Mike. So the purpose of Bill 65 is to adopt local amendments in how the city wants to effectuate the 2018 building code. It's in compliance with HRS 107-28, which gives us the authority to amend the state building code with our own amendments. And it also kind of updates the revised ordinances of Honolulu, Chapter 16, which was basically the 2012 building code, and we're going to update it to the 2018 building code, our local amendments. And like with all code amendments, this establishes the minimum minimum requirements for public health and safety as it relates to construction. Okay, next slide. As far as the summary of the amendments that are being proposed in Bill 65, there are 218 amendments, mainly to the International Building Code, state amendments, as well as the International Residential Code. So those are the primary ones. We have coordinated with our department within the DPP for the building codes, as well as the fire department. Amendments are dealing with the structural requirements pertaining to the island uniqueness as far as how it applies to our communities, specifically for the wind and the tsunami as it relates to building construction. And then also in coordination with stormwater requirements. And there are other miscellaneous types of amendments that are being proposed. Next slide. So in this process, it's actually been going on for quite some time. We did several outreach efforts to engage stakeholders from the construction industry and the development side. So we started back in February of last year, and we had initially six meetings through June, February through June, and a sampling of the people that attended those outreach sessions are listed in the bottom portion of that slide. We had a follow-on sessions in June and October, or June through October, as we refined what was the feedback that we got. And in total, about over 150 participants attended those outreach sessions. So we got a lot of comments, and we adapted and revised several of those amendments that were proposed. In November and December, we kind of fine-tuned it as far as what the administration was willing to proceed with in submitting to City Council, and then we submitted the proposal in December. Next slide. So out of the 218 amendments that were proposed, there are about 6, or maybe a little bit more, but anyway, these 6 were highlighted as far as issues that there may still be opposing concerns or issues from the community, and we didn't reach a consensus with the outreach that we had. So the first one relates to the use of special inspections. Within the section 110-.3, there are like about 10 special inspections that are allowed. that we could have delegated. We are keeping 4 of them for ourselves so that we are not allowing special inspectors to do. The second one is a tsunami loading for high-rise structures. This is class 2 within the tsunami inundation zone. At one time, we did include these provisions in our initial recommendation to council and have since sent over a request to withdraw this provision after input from the Structural Engineers Association of Hawaii. They gave us some further input, so we drew it. Then there's the next one, the louvered windows or jalousies. There was an issue that came up at multiple outreach sessions. We tried to accommodate it. We think we have the language that is acceptable to the agency or the industry spokesperson that was trying to promote it. But I just wanted to highlight that one because it was brought up multiple times. And but we think we got it resolved. The wind design criteria, that's another one that initially was sent over to council in one form, and then in December we asked for a CD change or amendment to it. So the wind design would actually raise the trigger for the wind speed, and the trade-off for that was that it would reduce the cost of housing as opposed for those new construction in those areas. Another one was the sprinkler equivalency requirements associated with the access road and firefighting water supply. This one was, we kind of went round and round with the industry, and the fire department was very collaborative in this effort. But we think we came up with some acceptable language that everybody agreed upon. But you may receive some comments from different agencies or groups. And then the last one relates to the use of different types of concrete along the shoreline, within 600 feet of the shoreline. And again, this is another one that hopefully we reached a compromise, but that you may receive comments. So, Chair, those are the 6 main ones that we wanted to highlight. We have met with 2 council members already to kind of walk them through the Bill 65 and these 6 issues, and are open to meeting with all other council members, because 218 city amendments, that's quite a number for any group to kind of fully understand. But to me, I think the value of the outreach efforts that we did to have 218 items and only have 6 or so being at issue or under contention, I think is a pretty good effort, that the collaborative process with stakeholders was productive. So, and we appreciate those stakeholders that did participate so that we can get to this point. So, Chair, right now, I think that concludes our presentation. We are available to answer questions and again offer that later on we have scheduled meetings with individual council members.
Any questions for Deputy Director? Yes, Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Deputy, for being here. Quick question on number 1 for issues on concern. And you may have covered this, but if you don't mind just expanding out this. So the expanded use of special inspections, which the SAI is only used for commercial, is that correct?
So the special assignment inspections that you just asked about for commercial is not one of these special inspections.
Oh, it's not the same?
Yeah. So
okay.
That special assignment inspection is still available.
Okay.
And we are, the community is using it.
Yes.
You know, and we have new forms that they have to fill out, and we think it's pretty responsive to the community needs.
Yeah.
So the special assignment inspection program is unaffected by the Bill 65.
Okay, great, because we're following up on some of these. So I was just making sure I understood. This specific one is in regards to what for this section 110.3 and R109?
So there are 10 special inspections that are required, that the department could allow outside experts or certified people that we approve to conduct the special inspections on our behalf.
Right.
So these are like footing and foundation, concrete slab and underfloor, lowest floor elevation as it relates to the flood hazards, framing inspection. The next one is lath and gypboard inspection. The next one is weather-exposed balcony and walking surface weatherproofing, fire and smoke resistance penetrations, energy efficiency. There's a category called other inspections, which is kind of rarely used. The example that we have is this mechanical parking equipment, so then there's a special inspection category, another special inspection category on its own, and then the last one is final inspection. So of those 10, most of those we are allowing the experts from the field to perform these special inspections, but the 4 that we are retaining that we want only our department to do is the 4 are: one is the lowest floor elevation for flood. The second one is lath and gypboard inspection as it relates to the 1-hour fire rating on construction. The 4th one is other inspection, which are that rarely used inspections. And then the last one is the final inspection to confirm that all requirements of the permit have been complied with, and that associates with issuing of the CO.
Okay, that clarified it for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions for Deputy Vice Chair DeSantis-Tan?
Thank you, Joe, for coming and briefing us on this, and I look forward to having further discussion on this. As you know, I've done a fairly deep dive into some of the building code issues as well as our housing code, and so I wanted to ask, how does Bill 65 and the updates that it proposes to make to our building code fit in with our housing code? And before you answer that, let me provide a little bit more background. I think the issue that we found with the housing code in 16A, ROH 16A, is that over the years, things get added. Simultaneously, the building code gets amended from time to time, and so we end up with things that don't align. And I know I've harped on the windows and ventilation issue, but there's a number of other things that are not in alignment. Are we going to use Bill 65 as an opportunity to clean these things up and make sure that they match? I mean, even simple things, we have definitions that no longer are talked about in IBC and vice versa, even things simple as that.
So, Councilmember, this Bill 65 does not address the housing code. There is a provision within this Bill 65 that adds the housing code and makes it a reference code to these city amendments. We have a draft housing code that we hopefully can move forward. But in recent weeks, what we've been talking about is, or considering is, instead of updating the housing code, is to look at accepting or the International Code Council has what's called a International Property Management Code, and they no longer have a housing code. So that could be another option to us relooking at the existing housing code as it's written and an update draft that we have already put together. So if we do update the housing code, we may go one of these 2 ways. Just update the existing code with to make that consistent, and then also look at this adopting the International Property Management Code. So that's a different kind of a philosophical approach to deal with. Now, the housing code itself, when you look at how it's written or what it's about, it relates to the living conditions under which substandard or really bad, or maybe I should say bad, poorly constructed buildings are converted into housing. And when you look at it, it's like how you prevent tenement housing or really difficult situation and forcing people to live in that. So that's the intent of the housing code. And but I think there's different options that we have available, and we'll work with council to figure out the best way.
Good, I appreciate that, because again, what I don't want to see is us continuing to sort of update the IBC, but not update the other, and thus have inconsistencies that just sort of manifest themselves for years and continue to create friction and conflict and confusion. So thank you.
And then, one more comment, Chair, if I can. So, and as it relates to the different codes, the building code itself is the kind of the model code that we go by. So this 2018 International Building Code with the state amendments and our city amendments to the state code, that's going to be the primary, and all the other reference codes. If there's any conflict, then this building code will govern. So that's how we kind of or address conflicts within different codes.
Housing code, building code over CISA. Okay. Any other comment?
No.
Any other request, members? Okay. The only request the chair has is that you do meet with each of the council members.
Yes.
And give them a.
I think for most, we have an appointment
great.
already set up.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have to do remote testimony? No? Okay. Yes? Oh, yeah. That's what, no, I did. I thought that I said we'll now proceed with remote testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go into in-person testimony. We'll now proceed with in-person testimony. Clerk, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify? I know, Mike, would you like to testify? No? He's a DPP retiree. Thank you. Okay, so if there is no further testifiers, members, we are in discussion, which is great that Mr. Sumata will be meeting with all of you. And before we close, may I ask Mr. Lindsay to come up to just say aloha, and this council adopted your reappointment to the zoning boards of appeal.
Hello. Aloha, Chair Say, council members. Thank you all again for your support of my reappointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm, happy to speak with you at any time about my service, and I look forward to continuing to serve our community. Mahalo.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Lindsay? Congratulations, we already approved you prior to your appearance here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, since there is no further business, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much for your patience this morning.